Okay, we're gonna start the work session now. Hello, folks, quiet. Purpose of the work session today is to do, I believe it's 5 interviews. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're gonna start with the Planning Commission. Roger, come on up here. See right here. Welcome. Thank you for applying. Why do you want to have this position? Tell us a little about yourself. And,
Sure. My background is in commercial real estate. First as an appraiser, now as a broker and developer. And the reason that I would like to participate is that I'm already part of the steering committee and have found that it's
for the comp plan.
for the comp plan, yeah. And I found that it's what I've noticed about being in Seaside and volunteering is that the people that I end up associating with and tend to be people that I've volunteered with, and it's a very connecting thing. And because this is so integral to what I do, I'd like to have a part in shaping it rather than just commenting on it from the back.
Okay. Counselors,
So
questions?
we're assuming you're gonna be around for a while,
I'll be around for
and
a bit.
also you can commit to the meeting times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as the time commitment, it is a bigger one than probably some of our other boards and commissions and committees, just because you have to go through a lot of a lot more paperwork and things. So that's not going to be an issue for you, not just the meeting times, but all the prep going into the meetings.
That won't be an issue.
Some of the things that pop up may present a conflict of interest to you. So you're familiar with the conflict of interest laws and
I haven't familiarized myself with the specific laws, but I would have no problem recusing myself on anything.
I'm sure that the city will probably bring in the state people who regulate or advise and will teach you how to watch out for troubles.
We're actually all going to participate in that after January because it is now state law.
That's right.
There you go.
Yeah,
Planning
you
commissions and
guys are
city
getting out
councils
just
have
in
to do it.
time, yeah.
Yeah.
So someone from the state will be providing classes?
Well, we haven't decided who does it yet, but yeah. Somebody, Oregon Government Ethics Commission or an approved plan.
Okay.
Anyone else?
So have you read the ordinances that pertain to sitting on the planning commission? And have you read any background? How have you kind of prepared yourself is, I guess, the question I would like to ask.
I refer to the zoning code quite often.
Okay.
Certainly, it was much more when I was going for my zone change, but it's something that I refer to very often, both for clients and for, it's, the rules of how everything is written here. The bylaws, according, as far as sitting on the planning commission, I have not read. Today, I read the city description of what the planning commission specifically does.
Mhm.
It sounds like it's bound by some fairly strict rules that you need to stay within if you're going to be someone that can sit on the board and do it in a way that is not self-serving.
Because it is a quasi-judicial body.
Yeah. It's my first interview that I've ever had televised.
Okay.
The Planning Commission is the only entity that we actually can be appealed to from. So an occasional time will come up where somebody will appeal some decision that was made by the Planning Commission. That doesn't happen with any other board or committee that we have.
Mhm.
So it's unique in that sense. And we look at all kind of the same things you do when the Planning Commission makes whatever decision it was. and then decide whether we agree or don't. And it can go either way. Any questions for us?
No, I mean, I've watched enough of the planning commission meetings that I feel like I have a decent understanding of how it.
Watched or attended, because, yeah, you've
Yeah.
been on both sides of it, so
Yeah, I
that's
have.
unique.
I have, no, I mean, I think that this is, if appointed, it would be the thing that it'd be an experiential learning thing. And, you could describe what it's like to me, but I won't know until I'm actually in it.
It's true for all of us.
Spencer, in the past, we haven't had a lot of training for new planning commission members. Has anything changed with that regard is there any kind of onboarding for them now?
I need to check with Jeff, who's our community development director, and see what his plans are. I know we've discussed bringing in more regular training, such as the land use laws training that we did with Josh Soper, our attorney, a while ago. But we'll find out. I think one of the goals is to help all of our community members kind of hit the ground running and also know their duties, what they can and cannot do. So I'll have to check back on that.
So I just want to clarify for myself, you have occupation, commercial real estate broker. I guess I've always thought of you as a developer. Can you tell me where that line is, or do you not consider yourself a developer?
Well, I mean, the line is, brokerage is basically advising someone on how to proceed with a property.
Mm-hmm.
And there are rules around that. Development, there's rules as it pertains to the city, but it's a little bit more. If you've met developers, I'm sure you have, they're kind of lawless in the way they do. They're kind of rule breakers. And I don't know if I really fall into that category. I would say that if there are real estate opportunities that are available to me and there's no conflict of interest in the developer, if someone comes to me and they have something where I have a fiduciary duty to them, then I am a real estate broker.
I see. Okay.
What else? Okay, thank you. We'll
Thank you, Roger.
Okay?
discuss it at the council meeting. Tom Jensen, moving to the Convention Center Commission. Hi.
Hello.
You well, you don't have to introduce yourself. Tell us a little about who you are, what you do, and why you want this position.
So I'm the owner at Seaside Grocery Outlet and have a business here in Seaside, and I want to be on this commission because I believe the convention center is a big part of the business part of town, and part of town, just the community. And for me, knowing what's going on, what's happening and all that's important. I've been at a lot of events there, helped out with a lot of events there. And so it's, and I have several people I know involved with the convention center, and it's one to where it's one of the few committees that I can be on, not living in Seaside, but having a business. So that's also another, so.
Okay. Questions?
Good to see you come back and apply again.
Absolutely, yes.
You did a great job the first time. I've noticed that the meeting times of the Convention Center Commission sometimes kind of move around a little bit. Is that something that is going to work for you, or is your schedule more fixed?
No, my schedule is pretty, as long as I don't have other board meetings and stuff on it, because I'm on a few different boards, but several of the people on the convention center one are on the other boards I'm at, so far that hasn't been a problem, because Rotary, the club board, I just ran here from the foundation board meeting that we just had right now, and so yeah, a few different ones, so. And I think most of them are in the afternoon. A lot of my other board meetings and stuff are in the morning, so most of them.
They usually are
so,
at 3,
yeah.
4 o'clock.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I feel like.
Have you attended any of the convention center?
No, I
commission?
haven't yet. But I have asked a few people that are on them a little bit about them and what they do and all that, so I have a little bit of an idea. And took a look online of what the job of the Convention Center Commission is, and so I kind of have the idea of what they do, so.
So you feel like with all the other activities, Rotary and Chamber Board and all that, you can juggle all that?
I can juggle. I know some people are like, you're crazy, but I was asked about this one, and yeah, I mean, I think that everyone in here has a lot of things going on, and we find ways to go to the things that are important to us. So, so that's not a problem. So.
Do you have any questions for us?
No, not really.
You know what you're getting into.
Yes, yeah, I have a good idea. So.
This is a kind of position that a geologist knows very little about. So any questions that I should ask should be forgiven before I even speak them. Do you have any, will your role on the committee present any potential conflicts to, I don't know enough about the budget committee first, the convention center.
I don't really think so, because if anything, a lot of the stuff I'm involved in with like the Chamber and Rotary and stuff that meets at the convention center, it's kind of an insight into seeing what's actually happening by actually being there and helping out with events. So if anything, it's probably an advantage. So.
Yeah, and I think the difference is that it's an advisory committee. They
Yeah.
don't make decisions for the convention center,
Good
as
point.
opposed to, planning commission makes decisions.
Right.
Yeah, and I know I mentioned this last time when I was here a year ago or so, I can't remember. But I know like with the lighting, the tech staff and being involved in some of that stuff, because I've kind of done a lot of that before, that kind of helps to kind of put a different side into when they're looking and being advised at different things regarding the technical side of stuff, so.
Yeah, it is a unique center. I mean,
Yeah.
usually these are privately owned and need to show like a profit loss. Our big advantage is being a civic and convention center is that they're able, our center is able to do a lot of civic events, pancake feeds and fundraisers and things. There's a bit of a balancing act, but one of the things you'll learn is how they prioritize reservations and who can book and how far out they can go depending on what the group is and how large it is. The catchphrase for the convention center has always been heads in beds, meaning that
Yeah.
those events that people actually stay over
Right.
and the multiple times are the most valuable. So I'm sure you get that, and it's very helpful to every merchant in town.
I've heard a lot at the different meetings from like Chamber or Rotary and stuff about the convention center, so I've heard a lot of what they do and how they're trying to attract different events and which events are good fits and which ones aren't, and so,
Mhm.
yeah.
And I think 3 of us, have you served on it?
I haven't served on it.
Seth and I both served on that board.
Okay, well, thank you.
Very good, yes, thanks.
Thank
Talk
you.
about it later.
Okay.
Vincent. Have a seat. Been hearing how this goes, we just want to know a little about you.
Well, if I knew I was interviewing opposite him, I would have stayed home.
Oh, no.
He does everything. He's an amazing guy. Honestly, I'm here simply because Sean said with my skill set that this would be something that would help me serve the community. I've been in food and beverage and hospitality now for combined 22 years. It's what I do. It's what I've always done. I've worked alongside convention centers as a food and beverage director in Killeen, Texas, serving guests up to 1,200 people. So for me, I think this committee is probably the best fit I'm going to find in our area right now. The best place I can have my skills help the community. That's about it.
And so you've been here 11 years? You come right from Texas?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
It was quite a switch.
Oh, yes, it was. I moved here in summer of 2013, and it felt like it was still winter to me.
Yeah.
Oh, you survived? You
I did,
survived.
I did.
Really good.
And I enjoyed the area enough to stay, so.
It looks like you're a busy guy as far as the time commitment. Do you think that you'll be able to fit that into your schedule?
Yes, I've managed to set my operations aside now where I'm pretty autonomous with my schedule. So things like this are easy for me to schedule in and take part of.
What kind of interactions have you had with the convention center in your position?
So I get an email from Tina every so often. Really, whenever they have big events or anything coming, I get an email, we look over, we send over bids on groups that are coming to town. So I've dealt with them in that aspect quite a bit. I haven't taken part in any official functions directly with them. But we definitely try to keep a good relationship with them in terms of getting guests and taking care of people coming to town.
There was something I was gonna, and we don't make, counselors, we don't make this a big thing, but I think we should. We need to make sure the public, anybody, is able to go to any of these meetings.
Oh,
It
yeah.
doesn't have to be something that they want, something changed, but just to go and find out what goes on. And, you'd be more than welcome to do that too if you're not appointed to the position. More input into these boards, committees, and commissions gives them a better sense of what the public really wants. And so I was thinking about that, and we just need to make a bigger deal of it. It's very important to how this city operates. I wanted to commend you for being honest about your speeding ticket. I can certainly understand, although I've never had, not very often had to go home at 4 in the morning. I have one other just minor thing. You said you're a registered voter in Seaside, but you live in Deerheart. So you're really registered in Deerheart.
So when I registered, I was living in Seaside.
Oh, okay.
So that hasn't changed.
That thing doesn't really matter that much, other than we just
It's
want
just
to know that
puzzling.
you're voting, yes.
Yes.
Not necessarily voting for us, I guess. Okay, well, nothing else? Thank you.
Oh, any questions for us?
Yeah.
No questions really.
Okay.
Okay.
Nice to meet you, Vincent.
Nice to meet you.
Next up is the tree board. Rosemary, yeah, you there?
Then we have
We haven't nominated.
Hello. Hello.
Hi there.
Just saw him yesterday.
Oh,
Bought a Christmas tree from her.
Kiwanis.
okay. Yeah, I've driven by there and I thought that was you standing out there.
Yeah.
Okay, kind of funny, I imagine, for you to be sitting in this position after so many years.
It's odd, yeah. Because Tree City, we did that when I was mayor.
Right.
Yeah. So it's kind of
And
cool, it's still
it's
going
now
on.
27 years later, I think.
So you must have been mayor when you were 15?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep,
that's
Yeah,
right.
see,
Yeah,
this is
right.
good. This is good.
Very likely the youngest mayor
I
that
still
Seaside
am,
has
yeah.
ever had,
I
yeah.
am, yeah.
Okay, tell us, don't blame anybody for encouraging you to join this, but.
Okay.
I don't blame anybody.
No, I recently joined the Seaside Museum and Historical Society, and they have been recipients of trees from the city's Seaside city tree program.
Mhm.
And they've just been planted. And it isn't the best soil, and they didn't have any irrigation on them in the summer. And contrary to what people think, in Seaside, you do in August and September need to add a little water. So they haven't been thriving. So the museum board suggested that I'd be a good person to rectify the situation. So it is a good dovetailing of what I love. You know, I love being on the museum, and I, of course, obviously love being a forester. And so I'm applying to do that. We've already taken some action, my husband and I. The most recent tree that was planted, that was donated by the museum, we dug it up, and because it was just in cobble, you know, there's grass, old grass, and then duff, and then there's cobble. There's no soil that close to the ocean. We have the same yard as the museum has. So we dug a bigger hole and took out some of that and put in mulch and soil and gave the tree a really good start to get established, because then the roots will go find their way to water, and they'll find their way to what they need. But at least when they're babies, they need a little help. So we've already done that. And so that's kind of what I see us doing. And one of the other things I'd like to do is label them, you know, because some of them are donated by the city, and they're part of the Tree City program. It should say that, and the name of the tree, and a little history about that. So I'd like to do those sorts of things around the ones that are there, and some of them need a little trimming and things like that. So it seemed like a good use of me on the museum board, and I think it would be helpful for the city's tree board program. So that's why I'm here.
I'll just start off by saying it's always exciting when we get an applicant for the tree boards. So,
Yes, absolutely.
but no, it
And
sounds
somebody
like,
who knows about trees.
yeah, it sounds like you have a passion and a lot of knowledge for it, so I have no questions.
I don't either.
We don't-
Questions? Yikes.
Do you have questions for us?
Oh. What's your expectation? I mean, regular reports, or you're just gonna visit the museum and see how things are going? I'm assuming that you're gonna donate some more trees to the museum every once in a while.
Well, that's how we check on.
Actually, I think the trees came from Pacific Power.
Did they?
Well, they.
Because they
funded
were,
it.
yeah, they funded it because it had to do with trees being under the,
Yeah.
Power lines.
the power
And
lines.
that's
Yeah.
part of the I'm speaking with museum head.
Yes.
That's part of the project,
Museum head.
is to get another grant from
Right.
Pacific Power. But it isn't just the museum. She is on the museum board, by the way, not just a member of the museum. And, you know, this is a citywide thing.
It is.
But the museum is just kind of a perfect showplace, and we'd like to bring that back again. Okay, museum hat off there.
I have a couple of comments. One is, it seems that there are trees that are fairly mature in Seaside that aren't on city property, but might be in a right-of-way, and people cut them down without consequence. Is there a way to put some rules in that protect those
Like
trees?
Gerhard just did.
I didn't know
They
they
did.
did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gerhard
They
just did.
completed it. It
But
was.
theirs on private property. They're talking
Yeah.
about private property.
Yeah, that's a certain.
Well, and, yeah, so I would see that if there's enough interest in something like that happening, the tree board is the perfect place for
Right.
the discussion to start.
And beaches long have that policy.
And
Yeah,
I-
you can't even trim if it's over 4 inches.
Really?
Yeah. Well, you get permission.
I think this goes a little bit to your question, Rosemary, in that, what are our expectations? I think my expectations are that I'd like to see the tree board become revitalized and come to us with suggestions. Yeah.
It's kind of for the council, but I think you already know that starting in January, we figure out where to put it, we're going to revisit our entire board, committee, and commission structure. And I really want to create kind of a mission, vision type thing for each one of them. So you know exactly what it is you're gonna do. And each board, committee, and commission will have part in creating that so that we know what they think they wanna do as well. And it's gonna take a while, but you know, that's kind of one of my strategic plans for next year. hopefully can convince the rest of the council next year to go along with that. So anyway, that's, thank you very much. If there's nothing else.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Discuss it during the council meeting. And the budget committee, Kathy, is Kathy here? There she is.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Kathy.
Hello.
Tell us who you are and why you want to be on the budget committee.
Well, I think everybody here knows who I am. I am interested in being on the budget committee because that is a capacity that I have served other organizations around the county and the state before. And so I'm interested in stepping in and lending my skills and knowledge to the city of Seaside as well, since this is where I live.
Okay, any questions?
I would just say the budget committee is a little different in the sense that they don't meet regularly, but when we do meet in the spring, it is a marathon of meetings. So be prepared for that and know what you're getting into.
Yep.
All right.
Well, we have done, and I think we'll continue to get involved in a lot more meetings too.
Yeah, a
Like
little early.
Yes.
probably
Absolutely.
meeting in, I don't know if it'll be January
I
or
hope.
February, but, you know, when the board, the department heads come to the council and say, here's our plan, we probably will invite the budget committee to that, so they can hear. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, and then, you know, we had a meeting a couple months ago just talking about some of the policies we wanted to create, so. Be more of a year-round thing, but yes, the concentration is definitely in April and
March,
May.
April, May.
We have to get a budget passed by June 30.
Well, I've noticed the evolution of the budget committee has gone from something that was more of a listening session to something that is actually making decisions. You know, so I think it's a more important committee than it was in the past.
Yes, yes. Much more
Making
impactful.
decisions, but they all are recommendations to the council.
Which we take.
Yes, we do,
Yeah.
because we're half the committee.
What else?
Does not
Any
sound,
questions for us?
well, I mean, I think Rosemary kind of stole my question. I mean, what are your expectations for a new member of the budget committee?
Come to the meetings, be active, put your thinking hat on.
My big one always will be actually come prepared to the meeting. That's what I require of everybody here is that, you know, you can't get here 5 minutes before the meeting and look through the agenda. There's just too much. And you have to come up with, you know, get a good feel for it. Now, budget, that one's hard. I mean, that's hard for me. That's, what was the last one? 170 pages worth of numbers, so it's big. And-
It's a lot of attention
and
to
it's-
detail.
Yeah, very much. So,
Understood.
yeah.
And I would say that that is well within my wheelhouse and
Oh,
how
yeah.
I operate
Oh,
in
yeah.
general, so.
Yeah. Okay. Great,
Thank you.
thank you.
So then I will just let you know, in case I don't stick around for the whole meeting, it's because I have a cough that I'm keeping at bay right now, and I don't want to disrupt the meeting with that cough. So
Thanks.
if I sneak out, that's why.
That's all right.
Thank you.
Okay, did we get
Is that
it?
it? Wow.
Rapid fire.
Boom,
Okay.
boom, boom.
Um,
5:30.
Yeah, so I'll just go over some of these, not making decisions, but just go over some of them. Tonight, we could appoint Rosemary to the tree board, term ending 6/30 of '27. And we also have another application for the other vacancy from Jeff Bowman, so somebody could nominate him. We could appoint Roger Mitchell, that term ends 11/1 of '27. We have one vacancy still on the community center. We could appoint Kathy Klezak, term ending 12/31/25. These are the ones that are kind of coming up soon. It's because it's filling out a term, and that's when it ends. And then make a decision whether to appoint Tom Jensen or Vincent Lefevre. Their term also ends next year, October 25th of '25. Then we have, and I'll make sure this gets mentioned, we have two members of the library board that expire at the end of this month. So effectively, we need applications. Obviously, we're not gonna have them appointed for, the next library board meetings before our next council meeting, right?
Yeah, library board meeting's the first
Like
Monday
first, yeah.
in January, so,
So,
we'd be
it'll
looking,
be short a couple of people for that
yeah,
meeting.
but that'll be all right.
Okay, as far as the interviews for the Council Ward One vacancy, the staff report said the term that we're appointing this to ends in 2025. That's wrong. It ends in 2026. And on the appointment itself, we will do a roll call vote. It won't be a motion. And then we follow up with the oath. Spencer, did you bring a copy of the oath and you will do it? I didn't ever ask you about that.
I think in the past, I've been having the city recorder administer the oath.
Okay.
And we do have that oath prepared. We made a little update again, based on recommendations from League of Oregon Cities. So,
Okay, good.
but good call to remember that now instead of later tonight.
He's just coming in.
I also
Right there.
prepared two statements. Either one of these are appointed, they have to make some necessary resignations. Robin needs to resign from the planning commission before being appointed. And Christine has to resign from the budget committee and the airport committee before she's appointed, whichever one we decide. I think that's all I have. We will be having, I didn't tell anybody this, Alexander won't be doing the high school update. Ella Bowles will be. She is the student body president. He has a very important basketball practice. Okay, nothing else? We're adjourned until 6 o'clock. We call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Kim, will you do the roll call, please?
Well, thank you. Council President Pazalski is absent.
No, he's right there.
He's trying to get online there.
We
Okay.
can see him.
Council President Pazalski is online. Councilor Horning,
Here?
Councilor Frank,
Here?
Councilor Morrissey,
Here.
Mayor Wright,
Here.
Councilor Montero. Thank you.
We got any sound yet from Council President?
Oh, I
Okay.
can see his face.
Yeah, well, they're working on it. Okay, we need a motion for approval of agenda.
So moved.
I'll second.
Councilor Frank, Councilor Morrissey. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have no proclamations tonight. We have a special guest for presenting our Seaside High School update, I hope. Is that Ella? Okay. Ella Bowles is the ASB president, taking Alexander's spot tonight.
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
am. Yeah, there's not a whole lot going down at Seaside. We're gearing up for our winter week next week. We're pretty excited. There's a bunch of dress-up days. We do hot chocolate and donuts for free for all students in the morning out of the concession stand, and then we do karaoke at lunch. We are super excited. We get to do on Friday, some holiday classic games, which is the basketball tournament that we host, are going to happen during the school day. So if students finish their classes early, they get to go watch, which we're really excited about. It was a big tradition at the old school, and so now we get to bring it back to the new school. That's pretty much everything. We're just holding on until winter break in a couple weeks here. But yeah, thank you for having me.
Okay. Any questions from the council? Okay, thank you very much. Is city council invited to free donuts and hot chocolate?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
I mean, if you show up.
okay. We have some very special recognitions tonight. We're going to start off with 30 years of service for a retiring city employee. And I have a special proclamation I'm going to read here. I better get my glasses. We are honored to have a special employee recognition tonight. Oh, that's what I already said. George Whitlock graduated from Seaside High School in 1982 and began his career with the city in March of 1992 as an on-call employee in the Convention Center's Operation Department. After 2 years in a part-time capacity, George transitioned to a full-time role in November of 1994. In September of 2002, George transferred to the Public Works Department's Streets Division, performing various roles including street sweeping and park maintenance. 2 years later, in September 2004, George began splitting his full-time duties between the Water Department and the Public Works facility, while also working as a lube mechanic supporting the city's full-time mechanic. In August 2010, George was promoted to a water plant operator. Then in June of 2016, George transitioned to the wastewater treatment plant, where he has worked until his upcoming retirement at the end of this month. While we don't have all the records to prove this fact, we believe that George is likely the only employee the city may have ever had to work in every division of the Public Works Department: streets, water, wastewater, and mechanic, while also spending more than a decade with the Convention Center. Over his remarkable 32-year career, George Whitlock has served the public in countless ways, and tonight we celebrate his service and express our deepest gratitude for all he has done for our community. In honor of his incredible tenure and retirement, I, Mayor Steve Wright, on this 9th day of December 2024, I'm honored to present George with a unique Seaside sign that serves as a small gesture of the work he's provided to the City of Seaside for more than 3 decades. You come forward, George. There's what I just said.
It was good.
It was. Was it all accurate?
Yeah, most of it.
Okay. This is the street sign that we give out quite often for recognition. And George, thank you very much for everything you've done for this city. 30 plus years, amazing, great job. Anybody else want to get up here and have a picture taken? You have anybody special here that you want to have a picture
Sure,
taken?
I'll have my wife and my niece and my mom and her husband. You come up. Come on in.
Yeah.
Is everything spelled right?
I can't read upside down. Does
See,
that look right?
that's we've improved over the years.
I think I got the mic out of his face.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, George.
You're welcome.
That was good.
This one on? There we go. Going in order of what our agenda says, I'd like to have Randy Frank come up here. Randy is retiring from the council after 12 years of representing Ward 1 and Ward 2. A resident of Seaside most of his life. He worked in the restaurant industry for many years, and finally selling that business in 2017. He's been involved in local community service in a lot of organizations and been a very wise and thoughtful voice on a whole lot of deliberations that we've done up here at on the council dais. Thank you. Randy has always been a very strong advocate for our local airport as the liaison to the airport committee. So I don't have a long speech. I'm known for short speeches. Thank you, Randy, very much for your tireless efforts, leadership, wisdom, and devotion to making Seaside a better place for everyone.
Thank you.
And
I'll do it in our comments.
Tom, it's your turn. Tom, you, yes. Can you come up here? You want me to do it at your chair?
I can come up.
Tom is retiring after 8 years of representing Ward 3. Resident of Seaside most of his life, he's focused on geology and protecting our coastline, coastal shoreline, as well as working with the native peoples of our area. His focus on seismic hazards and preparedness are very well known. He has consistently prioritized the well-being of Seaside citizens as our council liaison to the Parks Advisory Committee for many years. Thank you, Tom, for your wisdom and leadership and your unwavering commitment to Seaside.
driveway.
All three were graduates of Seaside High.
That's
Yep.
right.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right. Okay, it's time for public comments. Members of the public may use this time to provide comments to the city council, on items that are not scheduled on this agenda for a public hearing or public comment. Speaking time's limited to 3 minutes. I just have one person that signed up, RJ, talking about open.
Open meetings.
We're not scheduled for public comment on that one, so
Right.
now it's fine.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. I am delighted that tonight the City Council is being requested to adopt the executive session news media attendance policy, which outlines the criteria and procedures for allowing representatives of the news media to attend executive sessions in accordance with ORS 192.660. This is an important step. In Oregon, under ORS 192.620 and 192.630, decisions of public governing bodies operating in the state are arrived at openly. This means that all meetings of public governing bodies are open to the public. The state of Oregon has an additional tool for government transparency with a provision that representatives of the news media shall be allowed to attend executive sessions with certain highly constrained limitations, such as hearings to expel minor students or examine confidential records. In all cases, the governing body may require that specific information be undisclosed until the information is acted upon in a public forum. Public meetings are not regulated on a federal level. Each of the 50 states has its own individual open meeting laws. In Oregon, government entities may hold executive sessions to consider employment, labor, and property negotiations, negotiations related to the exchange of public investments, and labor negotiation, among other matters outlined in the statute. The state has added an additional tool by providing access to most executive session meetings to members of the press, so long as they agree to keep information confidential until action is taken in the public forum. These rules, adopted in Salem in 1973 and revised in 2017, indicate that the legislature intended to provide an added layer of accountability to city government by enabling members of the press to attend closed executive sessions. They also exhibit a high degree of trust in the journalists themselves asked to observe the protocol described in the statute. Responsible journalists, whether newspaper, TV and radio, or via online outlets, play a key role in protecting our right to know. I urge city councilors to adopt this policy, and should they do so, consider and confirm my role and that of other responsible accredited journalists in accordance with the state's open meeting statutes. Thank you.
Thank you, RJ. We had an earlier submission. Is Anita Dotson here? Please, let's see. You live in Seaside?
I live out on Highway 26.
On 26. So not a resident of Seaside, but near Seaside. Okay.
No, I pay a lot of tax, so. So.
You have 3 minutes.
Okay. My name's Anita Dotson, and I live out on Highway 26 at 34662. I am here to discuss the fluoridation in our water system. There has been a lot of information in the news lately about this subject, and I have been wanting to get it out to Seaside water for quite some time, but have been doing my research. This is not a political issue. This is a health risk for all citizens of Seaside that obtain water from our treatment plant. The city actively puts sodium fluoride in the water. It clearly states on the bags that this product is toxic if swallowed, avoid release to the environment, and states that you are to call poison control if swallowed. You may not know this information. I am here today to inform you that this is a toxic chemical you are actively allowing the water treatment plant to put in our water. We have some of the purest water in our country. I have the article from Brenda Belletti, PhD, from September 25th, 2024, here for you all to read. Judge Edward Chen of the U.S. District Court of the Northern District of California wrote in a long-awaited landmark decision that the EPA can no longer ignore the risk and must take action, that the water fluoridation poses an unreasonable risk of reducing the IQ of children. Scientific evidence also shows fluoride may damage human health, particularly that of pregnant mothers and young children. There is no danger to human life by stopping the addition of fluoride into our water. By continuing to add it does. You must now address this it is being brought to you. The city and you as well have potential liability. There are studies after studies that show how harmful it is to your health. Here are just a few. There is no way for you or the water treatment plant employees to know how much a single person is consuming in a day. Some people don't even drink water at all. Who do you have to administer the prescription to medicate any of us? When you go to the pharmacy, you have to have a physician's prescription to get it. The workers at the treatment plant are not physicians. You are not physicians. I do not give my consent to be poisoned anymore. Take it out of our water now. You have been notified. Lewis and Clark took it out of their water recently, and they found out that they are not regulated to put fluoride in the water and do not need to get permission from anyone to stop the fluoridation. I expect the same from the City of Seaside. With the statement on the bags that you are not to release it into the environment, that's exactly what you're doing. Our wastewater gets treated at the mouth of the estuary, which goes right into the ocean. This is causing an environmental toxic issue. You are not only causing harm to the citizens, but also to the sea life in this area, not to mention all the animal life that gets exposed as well.
Please
So
wrap
you must
it up.
act now. Thank you. And
Thank
here
you.
you can see whoever
Thank
is
you
online.
for providing your information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
David?
Yep.
I have not signed up, but can I make a short presentation for these?
Council?
Fine.
For who?
Okay.
Okay.
That's what I was gonna say, Mayor.
What?
That's what she was going to tell me.
Tracy McDonald wanted to come up and present you guys with something or something.
You have 3 minutes.
After the meeting
Yeah.
started. So.
So, this is the
Wait till you get to the microphone. State your name and city of residence.
Tracy McDonald, 451 Hillside Loop, Seaside. And this donation is the last tree on the Christmas tree lot for Kiwanis. So I would give that to the council and to city staff to donate to someone that needs it. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice, thank you.
And then, okay. And I would like permission, if at all possible, this sharing and caring kettle donations are eligible for a match this year. And these are letters that the Salvation Army has put out, the post unit. So it's available to us. This is the funding that we do for the gas vouchers and also food vouchers with one of our local vendors, the fueling station. And so I have this information sheet. I would like to, the average that they're talking about goes up to $5,147. So that is the previous year's total that we rang up. So that's what they base that on, and it's just a projected amount. We will be ringing bells at Safeway and Fred Meyer's. We are the Seaside Greater Unit. but majority of our experience in things has been from the Seaside area. And so that's the kind we want to, and I realize the Seaside Salvation Army is a church, but this is a service account. Any donations that you make go to the zip code of the location. And so, and the money stays here in Clatsop County. So.
Okay.
Anyways, so, and that's the issue also, is that we've had a lot of growth in demand. I have other locations. Walmart would like to be a location. I have 2 bell ringers this year. So I'd appreciate anybody that may want to volunteer. And those are sign-up sheets that you can scan the code and take over a shift and sign up.
Okay.
So that's what I'd like to present. Is there any questions that you guys or councilmen have? Okay.
Nope.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Okay, for our consent agenda, may I have a motion to approve it?
So move.
I'll second.
Was that a second?
Second.
Okay. Counselor Frank, Counselor Morrissey, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We have a expensive but very needed presentation tonight. Is he online or is he here? Okay. This is Spencer. You want to introduce what this is all about?
Sure. So one of our goals in this last year has been to kind of get a handle on the condition of all the facilities in the city. This is part of our plan to look at the resiliency of the city and be taking a long-term view on the facilities that serve the residents, and also can be liabilities if they're not taken care of. And so in our streets department, we engaged with the services of Capital Asset and Pavement Services and to do a condition assessment of all of our roads. This has not been done for some time, and so won't get into too much of the details of what they do, but they've gone out and surveyed and graded or scored all of the streets in the city, and have put this report together that should help us prioritize our street maintenance and rehabilitation. Part of this is since our funding for this is not endless, we need to know where the money is best served for the long-term interests of our streets and ultimately for our community. And so their services were engaged, and they're here to present tonight. And then after this, staff will continue working to implement their recommendations in here. And I'm sure it'll be part of our discussions during the upcoming budget process.
So this is strictly a presentation. We're not looking to actually
Correct.
do anything tonight.
Yep.
Okay. Please proceed.
Yeah, turn it over to you, Joel.
All right, thank you. Esteemed Mayor, members of the council, thank you very much for having me this evening. Like Spencer said, my name is Joel Conder, and I'm with Capital Asset and Pavement Services. We're based out of Salem and have a long history with the City of Seaside. I was first hired by the City of Seaside back in 1999 by the Public Works Director. I believe his name was Chris Davies at the time, and I worked with Chris very closely to put together a program, and then it kind of went after Chris left, and I think he went to Idaho or someplace, and it kind of got dropped, but it was sure good news when we found out you guys were looking at getting it going again, and you contacted us, and that's what we did. And so what we bring to the city is a pavement management system. And you got to ask yourself, well, what's a pavement management system? Well, it's basically a computerized inventory system that we go out and we measure every one of your streets, the length, the width. And after we do that, we count every crack and pothole and patch and bump that you have in the street. And we dump all of this information into a database. And then we get the numbers from the City of Seaside to how much money do you have to fix these streets. And then we start running a most cost-effective way of treating your streets and using basically the best bang for your buck. You're going to hear me say the acronym PCI a few times in the next few minutes, and that stands for a Pavement Condition Index, and that's it's from 0 to 100. And 0 is a road that's pretty much gone back to gravel, and 100 is obviously a brand new one. So the software that we're using is called Street Saver, and it's the most used software on the West Coast, and almost everybody in the state of Oregon and Washington are using it right now. So you're using a system that compares apples to apples with all the other cities. Your current PCI right now is 61. So on the 0 to 100, you're about a C average is what you're at. And just give you an idea of what a PCI of 61 is. We have about 85 cities in the state of Oregon, and we only have 6 cities that have a PCI of less than 61. So statewide, you guys are not doing very well. So, and that's another reason why we're here to try to help that number up. You guys have about 37 miles of paved streets. You can see, 4 miles of arterials, 5 miles of collectors, and majority of your street are residential and local access roads. If you look down there at the bottom part of the graph, you can see what percent of your network is in what condition. And it's about 34% in good, another third of it's in fair, about a quarter of your network's in poor, and then you can see that 6% is in very poor. So about a third of your network is in poor to very poor. And that's kind of unusual. Typically with most cities, the poor and very poor make up between 5 and 10% of their network. So you can tell by looking at this, you guys have quite a few streets that are in very poor or poor shape. This is what I call the pay me now or pay me later. This is the pavement deterioration curve. And if you look along the bottom there and you see those slash marks there, those are in 5-year increments. And you can see we're out there at 20 years, which is basically the life cycle of pavement when it's designed to last about 20 years. And you can see after it goes out about 10 years, it's doing pretty well. And then when you start getting into that 10 to 15 year age, that's when they really start dropping off. And you can see that the cost of doing maintenance down there is $245,000 a lane mile if you can catch it when it's in pretty good shape. And if you let it fall all the way to the bottom, then obviously it becomes over $1 million a mile to maintain your streets. So this is why I say we pay me now, we pay me later. It's best to maintain your streets and keep them in good condition instead of letting them fall. Next slide. We ran a couple of scenarios for your Public Works Department, and the first one we ran is the unconstrained needs. And this is basically what this means is if the City of Seaside had all the money in the world to fix their streets, this is how much money it would take. And you can see today that it would take $21 million over 5 years to increase your network PCI and get it up to 83, which is kind of the industry standard, which we've kind of figured out in years and years of doing this, that's the most cost-effective way of keeping your streets about a PCI, a network PCI of about 83. And remember, yours is 61. So that's what it would take. So scenario 2, this is your current funding level. This is what the city is spending now, I think it's about $960,000 a year, or $4.8 million over the 5 years. And at your current investment level, you're pretty much just going to break even. Today, you bounce between 61 and 62, and 5 years from now, you'll be in the same boat. Those red lines are showing you deferred maintenance. That's how far behind the 8 ball you guys are with your maintenance. So you can see today it's almost $10 million. And in 5 more years, it's almost going to double because some of those really older streets are really going to start to go. So you're going to be up there, in the $18 million range here in 5 years. Scenario 3 was, okay, let's do something that's realistic. And that's what most agencies ask us to do. They said, Joel, we can't spend obviously $21 million over 5 years. We don't have that kind of money. What can we do to start pointing us in the right direction? The best way to do that is to shoot low and go with increasing your PCI 5 points. And so that's going to take about $7.2 million over 5 years to get to that number. So that's about $1.4 million a year, which would be about a $500,000 bump from your current funding. Well, that gets us up to PCI goes from 61 to 64 immediately next year, and it kind of works its way up to 66. But you can see you're attacking your deferred funding. It's now not over 18 million. Now it's a little bit over 16 million, and you're going in the right direction now. So that's what will happen if you just a slight bump of 500,000 per year. We ran a fourth scenario. Let's increase it by 10 points, because some people like to shoot big and they like to come up with local gas taxes and a street tax and stuff like that. And so they go, let's go 10 million over 5 years, and 10 points over 5 years, and it's going to be about $10 million, or basically $2 million a year. So basically doubling what you're putting into it now will get you a PCI up into the 71s. And when you get to a network PCI of 71, you're pretty much average what the most of the state is now. We do this also for the city of Warrenton. We do it for the city of Astoria, Tillamook, quite a few folks that are in your area. And that's about where most of those agencies are at now. So that's how far behind the 8 ball you are locally. So those are the 4 scenarios that we ran. Now here's a PCI condition map of your city. So if you want to see where all your good roads are and your bad roads, here's a snapshot of it. So if you see the blue roads, those are good roads, or the green roads, those are ones that are in pretty good shape. When you see the orange and the red, those are the streets that are poor and very poor. So you can kind of get a snapshot right now of your current PCI condition by looking at that. If we jump to the next map, you'll get a chance to look at, okay, this is the blank check theory scenario where you have all the money in the world and obviously everything turns green and it's great and you have a perfect city. So the next one is when you have this is the current funding, and you see it doesn't really change much from what we saw. We're staying about in the same place. There's still a lot of red and there's still a lot of orange, and that's what you're trying to get rid of. So we move to the next one where we want to increase it by a few points. You can see a lot of the orange has kind of gone away. It's highlighted the red. And the reason a lot of the orange has gone away is because those streets can still be saved with some structural overlays. The red streets are pretty much, you're into reconstruction on those streets. They're kind of beyond maintenance. And if we move to the next one, this is to increase it by 10 points. Now you see most of the orange and some of the red is starting to disappear because we've now doubled the funding from your current funding of 960,000 to 2 million. You go to the next one, the next slide there, and these are the scenario treatments. And here's a snapshot where you can look at and say, okay, based upon our budget, here's the recommended treatments from our pavement management system, what we should be doing. Sometimes it's a grind and inlay, sometimes it's a 1 inch overlay, 1.5 inches, or a 2 inch, or a thick overlay. This is a great thing to have when you put out a master plan and say, okay, here's the next 5 years, here's what we're doing. A lot of times the citizens of the city love to see this map because they get to see when the maintenance and what type of maintenance is coming. And you can move over to the next one, and here again is if you can play with your treatments a little bit and say, okay, we're only going to do structural overlays and so maybe some localized patching. And then the next scenario is the same thing. There's all these different, the next map, if you move to it, is these different scenarios. You can put all the scenarios in that you want and take a look at it, and you can run the reports and it'll actually show you what kind of bang you're getting for your buck. You can see if you're really raising your PCI, if it's really working, is that treatment working? You can put it in there and play with it and find out, and then you can start making the human decisions. So, and here is just kind of basically a snapshot of those scenarios we talked about. You see the one in the middle there, the 0.96, that's your current funding. And you can kind of see the current PCI and what percentage of the network is staying in what condition. And as you increase your budget, you can obviously see the bang for your buck. And like today, you have 54% of your network in good condition, where if we increase it to the we basically double it, 77% of your network's going to be in good condition. So all sorts of things you can do with a pavement management system. And so that's what we're here to help the city with. And that kind of ends my presentation, and I'm here for any questions and answers if you have them. That's a lot, I know.
Yeah.
Joel, you mentioned that we had approximately 37 miles of paved street. I'm assuming that does not take into consideration the streets that have never been paved that are gravel?
That's true. Those were only your paved streets.
Okay.
And it does not include the state highway or any county roads.
Or the county road.
Sure.
Because Wahana's county, right?
Parts of it.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, Spencer.
Joel, one thing I think, not just for the council, but we have quite a few members of the public here. You kind of touched this when you talked about the pay me now or pay me later. But there's some of the best practices when it comes to asphalt preservation is counterintuitive a little bit. Can you touch a little bit on kind of the theory of where your money is best prioritized and best spent? It's not usually going to be what people perceive as the worst streets.
That's very true. I like to refer to that as crisis management. And a lot of people, before we got there, a lot of cities and counties would both go out and have a budget, and they would start with their worst roads. And that is such a horrible philosophy and a bad way to do business. The city of Seaside currently right now has a lot of streets that are right in the middle of the road. They're just kind of barely hanging on. And those streets would be much better served to preserve those things and fix those instead of letting them fall into a crisis management thing. So a lot of those roads, especially all the ones you saw on the map that were red, those are kind of beyond maintenance. Those have got to become capital projects and totally reconstructed. So we really, pavement management and our system really points you to maintain the roads that you have in good condition and not let them slip. And a lot of people have a problem with that, going, hey, my road's way worse than the one we're over here fixing. What's the deal? Well, that is exactly the deal, because it's way cheaper to fix those roads and maintain them while they're still in semi-good condition instead of letting them fall. So that's always a hard one for folks to look. Now, one of the things the city of Seaside doesn't have is that you really don't have any preventive maintenance that you guys have been doing to your streets. And by that, I mean you don't chip seal, and a lot of cities don't like chip seals, which is what the county does. And we work very closely with Clatsop County on their roads, and they obviously they do a lot of chip seals. If you guys get out on county roads, you feel it, and they're kind of louder. Not always the best for cities, but there are seal coats that you guys could be putting on some of your streets, and it's not one of the tools currently in your toolbox. So I would definitely advise the Public Works Department to start looking at some of those slurry seals for city streets.
So obviously, this boils down to money. And he mentioned two ways. He mentioned a street tax. He mentioned a gas tax. I think it would be interesting to see what a gas tax might bring in, although I don't know comparatively how much gas is sold in our city. But I also was thinking about this earlier, and given that tourism is a big reason for our roads to get to the conditions they're getting, this is another reason, I think, for us to really actively support getting the state to change how the TLT is divided up between the state and the cities.
That's
so
the
that we can
lodging
use
tax,
that.
in case
The,
you don't
the
know what
TLT, the lodging
TLT,
tax. Yeah, so that we can use that more for our infrastructure. Then I also had a question, given that we've been talking about the FEMA BIOP, does that have, if we want to start working on the roads, does that have any overlay or implications with what the FEMA BIOP is going to require?
My understanding right now is to do maintenance, we would be allowed to do that. And even if that weren't the case, we're not, none of this is remove or is adding to the, adding land or adding
impervious
impervious surface into the floodplain, which reduces the capacity of the floodplain. So we would be keeping it the same.
That's the generally accepted answer.
Generally accepted.
Devil's in the
just don't
details.
know
We'll
what
see.
FEMA for sure will say, yes.
As far as the TLT funds, can we use any of those currently for street maintenance?
No.
We can't. And I know there's
And-
one city that tried that, and
we're not really here now to
Yeah, yeah.
explore much of those avenues.
we will
We're
be
here-
exploring all of
Yeah,
those
we're
and
gonna
bringing
look at
back.
everything.
I do have a question
all
for
the
Mr.
options.
Conder, though.
Yeah.
So when, if a street is replaced and it's new pavement, what is the, how do cities handle cutting into that for sewer lines? Is there they put a sort of a 2-year time limit on it before they let people do that? Because obviously it starts degrading as soon as it's cut into.
Yes.
Is there a rule of
yes, you're-
thumb?
Yes, you're right. There is it does start degrading, and asphalt's a flexible surface, and it's meant to work all together. And the minute you cut it, it really starts speeding up the deterioration. Most of our clients have within the states of Oregon and Washington have put moratoriums on cutting any street in the first 5 years of its life, or if the pavement condition index, that PCI I talked about, is above 90. You're not allowed to cut the street. So, and then they either have to do a horizontal or directional boring underneath it. It's a little more expensive, but it definitely can be done instead of cutting the street. And that's usually some kind of a city policy that's passed in each city.
But that's pretty accepted throughout the industry, right? In 5
Definitely.
years, yeah.
Definitely.
Takes a little bit of planning on our part.
Yes.
Putting sometimes conduit in or pre-planning projects, getting them done ahead of time, because it is more expensive after the fact. But these are expensive assets we need to maintain, and the enemy to asphalt is water, and we have
And
plenty
we
of
have a
that
lot.
here.
Yeah.
So
We've had some experience with redoing Holiday, a good portion of it, as well as we saw what just happened when ODOT redid the south part of 101. But again, that's kind of forward of where we're at here. This main purpose of doing this was to get it out there. And I assume we'll put it on the website under Public Works or something, so
they're
people
not, right?
can look at it. And please don't come to us and say, I need my road fixed.
the report is already,
It's already
on the
out there.
website.
Okay.
I think in the packet it's linked to the website. That was the easiest way to not
Oh, that
give
was
you
linked to
150
our
pages.
website. Okay,
Yep.
great. Good job. Good job. So, one more thing to work on next year, and but what was it you said? What year was this done before?
I did it originally back in 1999 and 2000.
So
I did your
over
first report.
close to 25 years, it's just
Yep.
kind of sat there.
Yeah, it was me that walked every one of those streets back in those days. So
Wow.
I'm very familiar with your city. So one of the other things I forgot to mention, though, is any decision that your public works department makes moving forward with what they're going to do regarding preventive or doing maintenance on a street, there's actually a cost effectiveness number that's within this report, and it shows the city staff exactly how cost effective their decision is. So it's a way of kind of keeping track of your public works department and making sure they do the right things. So you can keep an eye on it.
Yeah, and that's one issue we have right now is we're out looking for a public works director. So
I will add to that, one thing that I continue to discuss with the other city managers and the county managers, looking for opportunities when projects and maintenance work is bid out, at looking at bidding that out together. If there's some economies of scale, especially for bringing in outside groups, if we can share some of the mobilization costs and whatnot and do it. We're also looking at, are there opportunities to do some of this in-house? So we'll look at every way and creative solution to get as much done that we can. And
during the part of year where you can actually do some of this kind of thing, that's another issue.
And that is a challenge, that there are some treatments that are either less effective or not available to us because you need predictable warmer weather.
That's right.
So.
Yeah.
Mayor, I'd just like to
Yes.
close by just saying hats off to Spencer for
being proactive on this one. And I mean, we know we have a problem, but seeing how big of a problem we have and actually getting organized on how we're going to attack it. So hats off to you for taking the initiative.
Thanks.
Greatly appreciated. Okay, moving forward. Does any counselor wish to declare a potential conflict of interest?
Nope.
Spencer, do you have a comment you want to make?
Yeah, I can do that now, or I can do it on that item.
You want to hold it on the item? Okay. All right, we're to the point. Oh, wait a minute. I skipped that one earlier, didn't I? I got out of order. Okay, sorry. We're to the point of some action, hopefully, on several of our boards, committees, and commissions. First step, Tree Board has 2 vacancies. We interviewed one applicant, Rosemary Baker Monahan. What is the council's pleasure?
I would move that we appoint Rosemary Baker Monahan, and if there's is there a second one coming?
There isn't.
Open?
We have to nominate them to be
Let's do one at a time. Yeah.
That's a separate motion, but
Right.
is there another one coming, another position coming open?
Yes.
There are 2 for this committee. So
I'll second his nomination.
the motion is to appoint Rosemary Baker Monahan. The term would end 6/30 of 27. And we have a motion and a second. Any further? That was Councilor Frank and Councilor Montero. Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Was that an aye?
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Okay. And so there's no opposed. Motion carries. Thank you, Rosemary. And we have application also for the tree board that just came in from Jeff Bowman. What's the council's pleasure?
I would nominate Jeff Bowman to be considered for the tree board.
Second.
That was Councilor Montero and Councilor Frank. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. We got you that time, David. Good. And we will try to schedule an interview next year. See if you can get it. If we can get it at the first meeting, that would be great. Does the council wish at this point to close applications, or close them perhaps on the end of December or something?
End of December, I think, would be good.
Okay.
Sure.
So accept applications through December 31. Okay. We have a vacancy on the Planning Commission. We interviewed Roger Mitchell tonight. What is the council's pleasure?
I would move we appoint Roger Mitchell.
I'll second.
It's Councilor Frank, Councilor Morrissey. This would be a term ending November 1st of 27. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Nobody opposed, so motion carries. Congratulations, Roger. I don't know if he's still here or not. Okay. We still have one vacancy for Community Center Commission and no applicants. So please, that's a pretty important committee that we have that handles everything that goes through the Chisholm Center. We have one vacancy on Budget Committee. We interviewed Kathy Klezek tonight. What is the council's pleasure?
I would move to appoint Kathy Klezek to the Budget Committee.
I'll second.
It's Councilor Morrissey and Councilor Montero. This term would end December 31st of 2025, filling out unexpired term. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Nope. Motion carries unanimously. Okay. And we have one vacancy on the Convention Center Commission, and we have two appointees. Kim, would you call roll on for a roll call vote on this one? Either Tom Jensen or Vincent Lefevre.
Okay.
Council President Pasulski wasn't at the interviews, so
I'll be abstaining from this vote.
Okay.
Okay. Counselor Horning.
Vincent.
Counselor Frank.
Tom Jensen?
Counselor Morrissey.
Tom Jensen?
Mayor Wright.
Tom Jensen.
Counselor Montero, excuse me.
Tom Jensen.
Okay, there you go.
Tom Jensen is hereby appointed to the Convention Center Commission. Term ends October 25th of 2025. Congratulations, Tom. Thank you, Vincent. There's lots of other boards and committees, please.
Yeah, I would like to highly encourage you, Vincent, to apply for another board. You're very qualified, and we'd love to have you on one of them.
And it's not on our list here, but it's still out there. The library board has 2 openings effective January 1st of 2025 because 2 members will term out at the end of the year. So please apply for that. Okay. Well, thank you very much to everybody that participated in that. That clears the slate substantially, and I greatly appreciate all the volunteer work that goes in on behalf of the city. We have no unfinished business, new business. We have a liquor license application for Maravel's Kitchen. Is the owner here? Please introduce yourself, where your place of business is.
Yeah, my name is Maribel Morquecho. I'm the owner of Maribel's Kitchen. It's in 1575 South Roosevelt Drive. I'm here to ask for your permission to get the liquor license, to apply for the liquor license.
Council, any questions?
How many days a week are you open?
6.
6 days?
Yes.
And how
We're
late are you
close.
open? How late do you stay open?
Right now, we're changing the time because the winter, but during summer, we're gonna open until 10 or 11, maybe.
Okay. Anybody else?
Well, I would move, since we have a good report from our police department investigation, that we would grant permission for them to get this license.
I'll second.
It's Councilor Frank, Councilor Morrissey. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Booming in, David.
Yeah.
Is it coming in odd or too loud or?
No, that's good.
Fine.
Any
Okay.
opposed? Motion carries.
Very much. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Now let's. Next item. We have a news media attendance policy that we're considering. Spencer, would you introduce this?
Thank you, Mayor. I actually think RJ Marks did a good job introducing the topic a little bit during public comments today. Maybe I'll first, for the public that's here, discuss a little bit what an executive session is. So the assumption is that all the business of the city should be conducted in the public and for full transparency. And so the public can see how decisions are made. We don't make decisions behind closed doors. As we do the city's business, it's the business of the residents, and they are entitled to be able to observe, sometimes participate. But there are a few occasions set out in law where the council can discuss things in executive session, which are closed to the public. And the main purpose of that, once you start looking into them, kind of makes sense. An example of one would be if we are in the process of negotiating the purchase of some land, it doesn't help us to discuss that here, and so the other side can see our strategy, or possibly someone else can swoop in and make a different offer on the property. It puts the city at a disadvantage. Another would be as the city council enters negotiations with unions for the same reason, in order to serve the best interests of the residents. Those discussions are best handled in an executive session. Maybe one more example would be if there's pending litigation. So if the city is subject to litigation, again, we want to discuss that usually with the presence or advice from our city attorney, and we want to keep that confidential. So those are the purposes. However, with all that being said, the city council cannot take any official action in an executive session. They need to come out and do that in the open meeting, as with all other formal business of the city council. So in Oregon, we have a unique law that allows the media to attend our executive sessions. I don't know if they expressly state the purpose, but it feels like the media can be a bit of a watchdog. It's one thing that we strive hard to do in executive session is to make sure we don't stray from the topic. But when you put several people in a room, it's easy to start, and we guard ourselves and put us back on track. But there have been occasions of, not in Seaside, but elsewhere, where councils have chosen to have executive session discussions that should have been done in the public, and they do that in executive session. By having a member of the media there as a bit of a watchdog, they can prevent that from happening. When the media attends, they are not allowed to record anything. They also can't disclose anything that happens in executive session. That's important to note. So with that being said, the state law allows media to attend. And the law also recognizes that media is not defined just by traditional media. So maybe 20 or 30 years ago, it was easier to define media as someone at a newspaper, a TV station, a radio station, a journalist from there. The law recognizes that the digital platforms from traditional media are just as much media as the more traditional forms. And so it recognizes that where the gray area exists is that line between a resident who wants to post something on Facebook about the city and someone who actually runs a news site that covers the city. And so that's where the gray area exists, and there has been some guidelines developed for that from the state. From that, the League of Oregon Cities has worked with their attorneys and best practices to put together a guidebook on these executive sessions and the media attendance, and with that, a model policy. So what we're presenting to the council tonight is the model policy from the League of Oregon Cities. Among other things, it recognizes, or it details who is a recognized news media organization. It details how they go about proving that's the case. So it's not someone who just shows up and says, I'm with the media, or with a homemade press badge. There are certain executive sessions that the news media cannot participate in, and those are laid out. And it lays out some of the other rules, such as no recordings and things of that nature. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions from the City Council, but I would encourage your approval of the of this model ordinance, or model resolution, model policy.
Policy, yes. Council?
If I look at the policy where it says the City Council hereby adopts the following policy, and one is what recognized news media organizations are and how they're defined. A is pretty much what we've been used to forever. B is self-explanatory. So C is where we're getting into what could be more murky territory, I guess is what I would call it. And so I'd like to understand a little bit better what it means, an entity that is organized and operated to regularly and continuously publish, broadcast, transmit via media. And then at the very end, and that it regularly reports on activities of public concern. So regularly is the word that caught my attention, and then the other words were organized and operated to regularly and continuously publish, et cetera, et cetera. How is that all defined?
So as I mentioned, this is a gray area in the law. This is making it closer to a black and white issue, but still keeping some gray. I agree with you. A and B are very direct and easy to interpret, and C is less so, a little more subjective. I think the purpose of this, and I'm going to go with the League of Oregon Cities and the experts have put this together. I think the way I look at this is we need to make a judgment call. Because there is going to be, as I said, someone who just wants to post on their neighborhood Facebook or next door, and there's someone who's reporting for the digital version of a paper, and there's everything in between. And so coming up with a rule that draws a line in there is very difficult. And so I think what they've done here is given us several items that we can look at, the criteria that we can evaluate, and based upon the evidence presented, make our best judgment. If you go to the next section, 2A, for example, this goes through and outlines different ways that they can show that they are representing one of these organizations. And then if you go to the attached form or application that we intend to use, that's the first page after the resolution, they would state which of these organizations they belong to, and then the very last page, they would provide what evidence. And so I think if it was not the A or B, if it was the C, there is some room where they would kind of, for lack of a better word, build their case or build their argument. I could see us likely taking an application that is more subjective and just submitting it to our attorney, and just saying, please make a call. Give us your best advice. Is this comply or not comply? And that way, staff isn't accused of having our thumb on the scale or something like that. And so it's not perfect, but I think it provides the necessary guardrails and guidance to help us make the best decision on some things that we expect could be more subjective.
When you mentioned this was a model ordinance, is this a carbon copy from the League of Oregon Cities, or what is this exactly?
This is a carbon copy. There was one section of there was one sentence in there that it said, we're putting this in here, but get your specific advice from your city attorney. It had to do with if someone comes and says they want to attend the executive session, and we don't know who they are, they're being asked to provide some evidence that they are who they say they are and represent the organization they say they represent. The model ordinance, they said, was the most conservative one they could write, meaning the most protecting of the media. And so what they wrote in there was, if someone comes right before the executive session and you haven't had a chance to vet them, you can postpone the executive session. And when I read that, and then it says, has a big footnote that says, this is the most conservative, talk to your city attorney. And my concern was if we had an item that was, say, controversial in the city and someone wanted to delay a vote, they could continue to come in right before the meeting and say, I'd like to be considered part of the media, not for a sincere desire to attend, but for a desire to push the meeting. And so based on discussions with our city attorney, we amended that to say that they need to provide that evidence at least 2 hours prior to the meeting to allow staff to evaluate and make a decision. So basically, we didn't want it to turn into something punitive against the city. And I think all of our local media, you should be able to do it. Oh, one other thing I added for our own sake, as I said, once a member of the media is approved, they don't need to go through those hoops every time. I think the model ordinance had them applying every time there was an executive session.
On criteria C, it talks about how anyone who really broadcasts on the internet, some of the biggest news organizations as far as reach right now would be social media pages. So a Twitter and X news account. And then you go down to the how they would represent themselves and prove their credibility. I don't know how that would really relate to someone that has, let's say, a Facebook page or a Twitter account, a Twitter group or page that claims to be a news organization, but there's no way to really, they are going to verify any of that via those 4 criteria. It just seems like there needs to be more thought out on how this would be vetted, or if that's even important to vet these people and that whole debate.
I think the intent there, and there's more backup in the guide document the LOC provided. I think the first thing I would say is if it is only a matter of putting out tweets or whatever it's currently called on X, my guess is that they would say that's not a media. The guidance document really talks about they have to represent a media organization. So things to look at and consider in the guidebook are things like, do they have a budget? Do they have a staff? Give us evidence that it's not just someone sitting at their desk or sitting on their couch with their phone or something like that. It's media organizations, not an individual person who has an opinion or wants to post something. And so there's some of the guidance there. It's not reflected in here, and this is where I kind of go with their recommendations. And if we think that isn't working, we can work with our city attorney for any amendments.
I do like the idea that they have to basically indicate by signing that they will comply with ORS 192-660, because that actually holds people accountable to be confidential to a certain extent.
Randy or Tom? Keeping in mind that this is strictly for executive sessions, anybody can attend open meetings like this and report on anything we do here. That's one side of the coin I look at. We try not to do executive sessions unless they're absolutely necessary. It's not like we're going to have one every time, although there for a little while we did, because we had a lot of business that had to be taken care of. Spencer mentioned the ethics rules that pertain to executive sessions, and I think weekly review the cases that have come before the Oregon Government Ethics Commission. And by far the greatest preponderance of people getting written up, it's because it's either the executive session wasn't noticed properly or they changed the subject and talked about something else in the meeting.
Right.
So we are super careful about that. If nothing else, we'll sometimes say more of what we're going to talk about in the meeting just to make sure that we've got them all. But overall, we just try not to have it because we want to be out here where anybody can watch it at any time. I think this is a good first step and a good policy to put in place, and then we just have to figure out if it works for us. I don't see anything wrong with it the way it's stated now. So
I like the way it's stated now. I think it's nice to have an application form even.
Yeah.
And has this policy been vetted by our lawyer?
She was the one that recommended it.
Okay.
So what's the council think?
Well, I would move to approve the attached executive session news media attendance policy.
I'll second.
It's Councilor Frank, Councilor Morrissey. David, did you have any comments?
I don't have any further discussion on it. I think if the LOC is putting it out and our attorneys have recommended it, then it is a good policy for us to institute.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Spencer.
Can I add that doing this has actually brought up a couple of questions for me where I think I need more education. And one of them is some things that Mr. Marks said. He said it a couple of times that the press must keep it confidential until action is taken in public forum. And I had never heard it said that way. What I'm wondering, and what I would like to learn about, is what must be kept confidential? The whole discussion or the points? Because the things that are said are not always how we get to the decision or how we get to deciding the negotiation. That's one thing. But I'm wondering just how broad that is. What's the confidentiality part of it? The other question that came up for me is where in our policy it says at the very end that these policies and procedures shall apply to the city council and all of its boards, commissions, and committees. And I haven't been aware of our boards, commissions, and committees actually going into executive session. And this might be something as we look in further into the future at boards, commissions, and committees, what is their authority, et cetera, for doing that, and how does that get vetted or managed when we're applying this policy on top of it?
Let me just comment really quickly. I was also, my ears picked up to Mr. Marks's comments about the content of executive sessions, and so I'd love to hear more because that's different from my understanding, but I've not gone through the code and specifically. And then second, when it comes, what was the second?
Boards, commissions, and committees.
Oh, that's right. So, yeah, as I was going through there, I was like, that shouldn't happen very often, but it has happened once when we were here. We met in executive session with our budget committee once in my first year, and so it can happen. I think it will be extremely rare. I doubt it would happen with some of our committees that are kind of over a specific service or something like a facility, but it's possible with our urban renewal, possibly with the budget. I don't really anticipate it. I'm trying to think that it could be the planning commission. However, in my experience, I've never seen one go into executive session, but I suppose that could happen. I think it's rare, but at least the policy is in there that if they do, we follow these guidelines.
Right.
And all of those are covered by ethics as well. So that's just another, again, education we have to cover later on. Okay. Resolution 4052. Spencer?
Pulling it up. Okay. So the city is in the process of designing and having constructed a new dryer for the biosolids at our sewer treatment plant. We have been working with the company with name Centrisis on that project. However, as we have gone through and kind of reviewed, kind of taken a pause in that project to regroup and analyze where we are. And one of the things that we've discovered is that the current work being done has been done based on a proposal and not a contract. And so as we run into a few areas where we haven't been in agreement, we thought it was important to let's put everything into an actual contract. So as part of that, whenever we're doing purchasing, we want a competitive process. In this case, we are down the road. And so before entering into a contract, the law allows the council to adopt findings as to why we would basically award a contract directly to a company. And the main reason, there are several reasons for that. One of the reasons to do that, if there is significant savings. And the city has invested a lot into this project, and much of that would be lost if we chose to go a different direction. And so, again, working with our attorneys, who we've been working with Centrisis, this is the first step in several steps to kind of get that project back on track. So the first is to adopt this resolution, to adopt the findings that support this exemption from the typical procurement process. Once that is done, then we will be bringing back a contract for the council to consider. We've been in negotiations with them, and I need to go through my emails, but we were very close as of the end of last week on an agreement, and we may even have an agreement in principle. So I'd expect to see that come back to the council in January. So at this point, I'd recommend that you approve this resolution.
Okay. We're going to have get the right one here. A public hearing. I'll open the public hearing on Resolution 4052 regarding adopting findings to support this exemption. Does anybody in the public want to say anything? That's great. Any comments? We'll close the public hearing.
Mayor, can I add one thing? I forgot.
Yes.
So one of the requirements to do this is that we notice this public hearing in a trades publication, which we did, and that's specifically to ensure that those people who may have been interested in participating in putting a proposal together, have the opportunity to come and provide comment. It's been available. It was published more than 14 days ago. It's been available for them to review. We have not received any comments or any requests.
Okay.
Okay. Councilors, let's start with David.
I don't have any further comments on the, other than it would be nice when we get the dryer finished and get through this process.
Thank you. Seth.
Just ditto what David said. This is something we've been working on for a long time, a lot of issues, and it would be nice to get it resolved.
Dita?
Ditto.
Ditto. Yes, it would be nice to get this finished. Tom?
I was going to make some comment about stepping down from city council and why should my vote matter, but
nope.
You're still on.
I think it's important that the documentation shows that we recognize the significance of our situation, so that the public is aware how we went about it and why we did it. And for that, I was impressed by my review of it, and I'm in favor of moving forward with it.
Yeah. Randy?
So am I. In fact, I'd make a motion to read Resolution 4052 by title only.
I'll second.
It's Councilor Frank and Councilor Morrissey. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Move to adopt.
We got to read by title only first. Go ahead, Spencer.
So we don't normally.
You better, yeah.
We felt it was
That's
important
fine.
to put the whole thing. So, Resolution 4052, a resolution adopting findings to support an exemption from the qualifications-based selection process for design work and goods procurement related to the design, manufacturing, delivery of certain dryer equipment for the city wastewater treatment plant, declaring such an exemption and authorizing direct award of a contract to Centrisis CNP.
Okay, now you can.
Move to adopt.
I'll second.
Councilor Frank, Councilor Morrissey. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you for getting us this far, Spencer, and we'll keep on going. And it looks like you're up again on Resolution 4053.
Sure. So we previously discussed this with the city council, but for the public that's here, the city owns a significant amount of property in a watershed. That's where the source of our drinking water comes from the South Fork of the Nicanicum. So if we think of a watershed, think of a bowl-shaped area where all the water within a certain area runs to the rivers. We own some of that land, but not all the land. The surrounding properties is timberland, and one of the council goals has been to expand our ownership within the watershed to be able to preserve it. I think the city will be a good steward of the property with the goal of being able to enhance both the quality and the quantity of waters. Maybe an eventual goal will be to own all of the watershed, but we'll take it one step at a time. And so we have identified a piece of property that we are hoping to purchase. We've had successful conversations with the owner. It is not cheap, but there are state resources available. So we'll be applying for a grant to the Oregon Watershed Enhancement Board. The grant is due this week, and we will be asking for approximately $1 million towards this purchase. One of the requirements is that the city council pass an ordinance or resolution stating that the city will abide by all the requirements of the grant if we are awarded. I read that to be that if we are awarded $1 million for this project, we will not spend it on a different project, but it will go towards those things that we have said we would do. We have partnered with the North Coast Land Conservancy to do this, and they have been extremely helpful in helping us put this grant application together. So we are really appreciative of their services and their partnership in this. There was a second piece of property we had hoped to acquire as well, but when the estimates came back at the price, it was out of our reach right now. So we hope to show that we can successfully purchase and then manage this first property, and that will help us on a future application for the next parcel. As noted in here, and so we're all aware, and based on the advice from the North Coast Land Conservancy, we are committing to a match of funds greater than the minimum requirement. We've got about $500,000 set aside in our Watershed Enhancement Fund. And so we're proposing to contribute about $200,000 or 20% of the project instead of the 5%. And we believe that will make our request more attractive. I believe it's only $4 or $5 million available statewide, and there'll be several applications. It's very competitive, and so we wanted to make ours as attractive as possible. For us, we believe that that $200,000 investment, if it can yield another $800,000 towards this project, would be a great contribution. And I think this sets us up for a great project within our watershed, and a great ability to improve our ability to protect our source of water.
Okay. I was kind of curious why a public hearing was listed on this one. Wasn't sure it was necessary, but I don't mind doing it. So we'll open it up if anybody here has anything to say about us trying to improve our watershed. Please come forward and state your name and city of residence. Nancy.
Nancy Holmes, 1520 Cooper Street in Seaside. I wanted to see this enlarged. I'm curious what's the total acreage in the watershed, and then what percentage of this purchase?
I don't have the percentage off the top of my head, but it's about 240 acres that we'd be purchasing. I think with the existing acreage we have and acquiring this, that probably puts us really roughly somewhere around 30-35% of the total watershed, but that's
fine.
Really rough.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Give or take 20%.
It's
Okay.
not 100%.
Well, because I didn't know how much we had now. So, and as I say, where can you blow up that map so I can?
Off the top of my head.
Yeah.
My understanding is that the city
Get
owns
to the
about
mic.
1,000.
Get to the mic.
Joyce Hunt,
Yeah.
510 13th Avenue, Seaside, Oregon. And so we already own almost.
Address us, please.
Almost 1,000 acres. I think there's some little pockets outside. And so this will add to the area we have up there.
Right. Thank you.
Okay.
Joyce is a longtime member of the Watershed Council.
Yes.
That's why she knows all this good stuff.
And my comment was that, 12 years ago, several years ago, a lot of on the 1,000 acres that we own was logged with that money to only go towards the enhancement of our watershed. And at that time, I think we sold it for about $1 million. Some of that money we've put into culvert repair, bridge work and stuff. So hopefully the city will go for the $200,000 to get the grant, because that money has been earned by our watershed council. So, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
So what is this doing?
Once we're done the public hearing, I'm happy to go through a few of these slides.
Anybody else?
Anita Dotson. I just want to make sure that you guys, they have the water rights to this piece of property. They do?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. You close the public hearing. Spencer or John or
there's 3 maps. Start with the first one. So this is the total Mechanicsburg River watershed.
49,000. Okay.
49. This isn't ours.
No,
watershed.
this is the entire.
But this is the big thing. The red star on the map is the location of our watershed. So I should say a little bit of our water system. We collect the water there. It goes through a pipeline for several miles where it comes to the water treatment plant, and it's Yeah, it's great water, very clean. So if we go to the next map, this is a little harder to understand. This is the South Fork watershed. And so we own property within here. Our goal would be to own as much of the property as possible. That point of diversion is basically saying this is where we take the water out of the river and then pipe it to the water treatment plant here in Seaside. If we go one more, again, hard to compare. The red outline is what we currently own, and what we are intending to purchase, I've been calling the backwards C, the property to the right or to the east if John's got that. One more over, right there. That's the property. So as we talked and strategized about what property we would like to purchase, trying to start with those properties that are really closest to the river and right in the center of the watershed area, and that would be the most important. And then eventually we get more of the properties on the periphery, but kind of start with center mass and the biggest impact to the water supply.
Okay. Tom, you have comments?
Well, yes, I support this wholeheartedly. I think the totals there's 4,000 acres in the South Fork of the Nicanicum watershed. And the other parcels consume part of that, obviously. But the good thing is that most likely in the future, carbon credits can be earned from this forest. That would be money without limitations that you can use to manage the property or buy more.
Mm-hmm.
I can speak personally about some watershed acquisition we've done at the Conservancy, and it's surprising how much money is being thrown about out there. And it's
Astoria is taking advantage of that too.
Astoria is living the life right now because of it. So I think that this is a good thing to do for the city and for the future of the city.
Mayor, can I add to that we are in open talks with some of these carbon credit organizations, and they are interested in the property that we already have. The property we're purchasing, we are getting a good deal because it was more recently harvested, so it's not really one to be considered. But our healthy watershed that we currently own today is eligible, and we have people interested and are actively working with them.
Okay.
Which is, I think, a better way to fund the purchase than through logging of the property.
Randy.
Yeah, I'm just thrilled with this. Very, very pleased that this has come about and we have this opportunity. But another thing I'd like to remind all of our staff is that we've got at least one bridge, maybe two up there that we need to get replaced, and it could be critical for a fire hazard. So that's we're very happy with this. We just want to keep the bridge thing on the forefront of our minds.
Thank you. Tita.
I don't think I have anything to say that no one else has said already.
So we've talked about this a lot, but one of the benefits to purchasing our watershed is the fact that we wouldn't be logging it, hopefully, and then it will actually collect more water for the city of Seaside. And as we grow, the hotels and whether the climate's getting warmer or not, all those things come into play, and we're going to need more water in the future. And so this is kind of future proofing us for a lot of different scenarios. So I'm all for it. And it's also one of our council goals. So it's great to see us just checking those off the list, especially right at the last minute here.
Yeah.
Definitely.
David?
I think it's great anytime that we can leverage our funds with other funds that may be available to enhance what we have as a city. I think it's a great opportunity to take advantage of.
And so do I. I like the idea of being a little more aggressive on it, and trying to get our bid for this grant money to be a little stronger. I mean, we have the money in the fund to do it, and that's what we want to use it for. So, okay, may I have a motion?
Sure, I move that we read resolution 4053 by title only.
I'll second.
It's Councilor Frank, Councilor Montero. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Spencer, please read.
Resolution 4053, a resolution of the City Council of Seaside, Oregon, authorizing the city to fulfill the obligations proposed in the city's Drinking Water Sources Protection Grant application.
Okay.
I move to adopt resolution 4053.
I'll second.
It's Councilor Frank and Councilor Montero. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Let's cross our fingers that this grant is successful. Okay, we're going to move into something we've been working on for quite a while now, and I believe who's going to be first here? Spencer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Spencer has a statement he'd like to read.
Okay. Mayor and council and members of the public, before we proceed with the city council meeting, with the interviews, I'd like to address a matter of potential conflict of interest concerning Councilor Tito Montero and one of our applicants for the vacant city council position, Robin Montero. As many of you may know, Robin Montero is the sister-in-law of Councilor Tito Montero. According to Oregon ethics law, public officials are prohibited from participating in the appointment of a relative or a member of their household to an unpaid position on the governing body of the public body they serve or over which they exercise jurisdiction or control. The term relative is defined in statute to include certain in-laws, but it does not explicitly define the spouse of a public official's sibling as a relative. In addition, Oregon ethic law states that this section does not prohibit a public body from appointing a person who is a relative of a public official serving on the public body. This means that the appointment itself is allowed under law. In summary, and after review and consultation with the city attorney, Councilor Montero may participate in the process, and the city council may appoint Robin Montero should they desire to do so.
Thank you. Councilor Montero?
Yes. Thank you, Spencer, for researching the legality and ethics of a city councilor participating in the appointment of a new council member when there is an in-law relationship with one of the applicants. Planning Commission Chair Robin Montero is an applicant. As most people know, she is married to my brother. It is heartening to know that there is no legal or ethical restriction to my participation in the City Council's deliberations or selection tonight. I believe it is in the best long-term interest of the City of Seaside that, no matter which applicant is selected, there be no room for any questions of favoritism or bias. Therefore, I have decided to recuse myself from the City Council's selection process tonight.
Thank you, Tita. I agree. And I appreciate your willingness to do that, just simply for the fact that it removes all question. I held an informal coin flip out there before the meeting, and it was determined from that coin flip that Robin Montero would be first and Christine Binnicker would be second. So I will ask Christine to go with our city recorder this way to our conference room. And that way, there'll be no question that all the answers that our applicant give are completely private to just this discussion. No advantage whatsoever to either one. Robin will switch places with Christine. So Robin is first. Come on up here, have a seat in front of us. We have, between ourselves, selected 6 questions that we're going to ask you. They will be the exact 6 questions that Christine will be asked. Yes, make sure you're nice and close to the mic. We are going to just go back and forth here about who's asking the questions, but again, they are exactly the same questions. Have I missed anything, Spencer? Okay. As I mentioned earlier, too, even though our staff report said the term for this vacancy ends in 2025, it really ends in 2026. So it's not a really short-term thing. It's a 2-year deal. So Tom is going to start.
Okay, greetings.
Good evening.
Please tell us why you want to be a city councilor in Seaside.
In 1989, I came to Seaside and decided then this is where I wanted to be. It took up until 2001, 2001, when my husband and I were able to put plans in motion. Little did I realize that the career I had for 25 years would involve city codes, ordinances, and all that from across the country. In 2018, I retired from my full-time job based on my experience having worked with different cities and codes and ordinances. A vacancy came open for the Planning Commission, and I thought, well, you know, I'm retired. I think I would like to give this a go. And we have been vested in the City of Seaside since 2001 with different businesses around town, as well as voluntary positions. And so far, I've been on the Planning Commission for, well, I'm just finishing up the 6th full year. Now it's time to take the next step. And I'm just going to throw something out there, okay, if you don't mind. We do have, of course, the statement that we submitted with our application, but I want to let you know what my priorities of being a city councilor would be. Public safety is number one. And public safety goes beyond, of course, the fire and the police. Public safety, to me, includes all the best health of our citizens for the health of our city, which is the clean water, our sewer, emergency plan, and enforcement of the ordinances and the policies that we do have in play. And just tonight was a great example of where the city is going, and it's wonderful. And I want to be a part of that. I want to continue to be a part of that.
Well, I think the next question you partially answered, but talk to us a bit about what you've done to prepare yourself to fill that position.
How have I prepared myself? Well, like I said, having been on Planning Commission for almost 6 full years now, I ask questions. I ask questions. I want to know what people want to know, what is important to them. Yes, we all love the geology of Seaside, but you know, when you're going to live here, you've got to plan. You've got to ask the questions of what is happening within the city. Can I help and contribute my experience to help evolve and keep the city successful and on a path? Asking questions and getting involved is, whether it's it is a voluntary position, we all know that, it's not the parking spot, but whether it's on the boards, committees, commissions, within our town, volunteers, as we know, probably make up 70% of the efforts that take place in this town. And being with those different volunteer groups, you get a good ear of what people are concerned with. You get their ideas. You listen, you listen, you listen.
How would you handle a situation where the council makes a decision you strongly oppose and believe is not in the best interest of Seaside?
That you strongly.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, read it again.
Okay. How would you handle a situation where the council makes a decision, I don't know why I can't say that, you strongly oppose and believe is not in the best interest of Seaside?
It's done by conflict management, if you will. Everybody has an opinion. And my opinion is going to be, may be different than yours. But it's not about me being right. It's not about the other person being right. It's about what is best for the town at the time. Maybe down the road, that particular decision will have been outgrown, meaning, it's no longer applicable or it needs updating or revising. But that is the whole purpose of having a panel, is to hear the different opinions, expertise that they bring. The council is representatives of the public, and we've all been at Thanksgiving dinner with relatives. You have to cool off, the air, and you proceed with caution. But you take the decision as the decision.
Tom?
Yes, tell us about a time when you had to gather consensus in a group to solve a problem.
Every planning commission. Seriously, every planning commission, because an applicant doesn't come before the planning commission unless there is the word just went right out of my head. They need a special permit, if you will. And every application is different. Every nuance is different. And it is done, again, by panel. The committee decides what to do by panel and consensus. That's what healthy debate is for. Somebody's perception may not be your perception, and that's when you change your perspective so you can see where this other party is coming from, weigh the differences, and apply and go from there.
Thank you.
How do you plan to engage with the community and ensure their voices are heard in council decisions?
Well, I invite everybody, of course, to be a part of the city council and watching it on YouTube or what have you. And I notice that and sometimes that's hard. It's hard to get people engaged. Talking is a great tool of engagement. I notice the city does have a Facebook page. We don't have a next door page, but it does have a Facebook page. And I was recently approached about a concern that somebody wasn't aware of what was going on. We used to have a newsletter, and I don't know that we actually have, the capabilities of pursuing that. But even just putting a calendar on a Facebook page, because we live in an age where people are on their phones. They're going to be on Facebook. I personally don't do Twitter. But we have social media options. And that's the way the communication is going. And I think that we should take advantage of that.
Thank you.
How will you work with other city officials, departments, and community organizations to make progress on the council's goals?
Oh, I tell you, that's a great question, because I love asking questions. I had the privilege of attending League of Oregon Cities 2 years ago. And that was such a fabulous experience, because not only, you know what's going on in your backyard to a point, but to be able to engage with other people, listening to their concerns, their challenges, it did two things for me. It let me know what could possibly be coming down the road for us, where we are at, where our temperature is in some of the legislation that comes in, how we're dealing with it. And you have those conversations, whether it's with your work session or what have you. And it's great. You get different perspectives, and you know, you move forward. And this is one of my personal things. I am a planner, so to speak, in which you have to be proactive to get anywhere. You have to plan for the worst and hope for the best, but you can't be caught off guard. And that includes, we are only at about 7,100 population right now, and I know PSU just did a study that the preliminary study was released in November of 23, where our population has gone down a little bit. But I feel the city needs to be planning, maybe it's 10 years down the road, for that 10,000 population mark where things change. We know, we are aware, I should say, of what we need. We have housing in the works. We have, fortunately, a beautiful watershed, and we have plans. The asphalt, I wasn't expecting the asphalt to be a hot topic, but it is, you know, 37 miles of roads, who knew? But my goal is to help see the community development department being able to expand, because we will be getting more building applications coming in, and I say this with caution because this is kind of all over, but we are reworking our comprehensive plan. That should be, the preliminary should be issued in the spring and hopefully adopted by summertime. And under that is your zoning and your ordinances. There are some zoning ordinances that we can tweak right at this point, but we have to revise our zoning map. It's just kind of, it's so outdated, and our ordinances don't necessarily reflect today's population and the way we live here today. They need to be updated. So many things need to happen simultaneously. And I probably went way beyond the question. But I want to be a part of that. I offer my experience, my expertise, and my time.
Well, that was actually the end of the questions, and now you have 3 minutes to just tell us whatever you want to tell in a wrap-up of a final statement to the council.
Oh, gee whiz, what did I miss? I'm a note person, can you tell? Oh, yeah. Seaside, the industry in Seaside is tourism. We know that. We count on that for our daily bread. And with the balance of the tourism and the citizen population, it has to be handled with kid gloves, because one policy does not cover everything, and we know that. We have a very healthy economic advisory group between SBDC, the Seaside Chamber, SDDA. These community groups is what gets our downtown excited. And my personal hope is that some of our second homeowners and our visitors will want to become citizens. That's what we want. We want a vibrant downtown community. We want a vibrant voluntary community. Inclusionary zoning, of which I've mentioned before, definitely revising some of the policies and zoning, like I said, to reduce parking. We know parking is no parking, we know it's limited. But to be able to encourage building with more bicycle and pedestrian friendly. I think we would be able to maintain our winter visitor as well as our summer visitors, as you know, and keep our citizens happy that we want them to stay. Okay. One other thing.
That's all right. You still have.
Okay, do I have a second or two? Okay. The purpose of the city council is not a catch-all umbrella, okay? Of course, it's to protect our citizens. It's to provide basic services and whatnot, and ordinances and whatnot. I would like to see more activity and participation from the private sector. I think the City of Seaside has partnered beautifully with social services, but it's the private sector that is going to really help us keep up with what's going on locally. And so, private people, I encourage you to step up. Let me see, did I miss anything? I think I've said it all. And thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Robin.
And go with Kim, and she'll show you where to sit for a little bit. Hi, Christine. Hello. Make sure the mic's pulled up nice and close to you. Know if it's turned on or not.
Good?
Yeah, good. Very good. What we're doing tonight is we have 6 specific questions, and the counselors will each read a couple of them to you. They're exactly the same ones that Robin answered previously. So we'll start with Tom.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Please tell us why you want to be a city councilor in Seaside.
It's really 2 reasons for me. One, I absolutely love this town. So it starts with my passion for loving where I live, loving where I vacationed since I was a little girl, and feeling like I want to contribute and give back. 2 is I just love local government. So I have been involved in it in my career for 23 years at the City and County of Denver. I have been involved here to some extent since I moved here 3 years ago. I find it the most challenging, interesting, fun, uplifting area. You know, I just, I think it is something that was instilled in me when I was young, and it has carried through, you know, to today, public service. And that's why I would like to serve in this position.
Okay, well, talk to us about what you've done to prepare yourself to be an effective city councilor.
Well, I think it's really based upon experience and involvement. So when I was in Denver, I ran the technology department there. And you might think that Denver is a big, big city, 700,000 compared to, 7,000 some in Seaside. But one of the things that I've learned is that all cities do the same thing. And so I think I've learned that the experiences that I had in Denver are very similar to some of the experiences that I've had here in Seaside since I've been participating on the budget committee and the airport committee. The budget committee in particular, I've learned about how the departments operate in Seaside through sitting through a day-long presentation from all of the departments. I've watched every city council meeting on TV since I moved here 3 years ago. I've participated in the community and tried to learn as much as I can about the city. So I think it's kind of taking that experience that I have had in Denver and applying it and seeing just how incredibly relevant it is to what goes on here in Seaside.
How would you handle a situation where the council makes the decision you strongly oppose and believe is not in the best interest of Seaside?
The opinion of one person is a different scenario than the consensus of the council. So how I would handle that is I think integrity is at the heart of what we are here to do. Honesty is important. I'm direct and open and honest. My opinion would be my opinion, but I would get behind and support the consensus of the council. I think it's very important that we would operate as one, and not everybody's always going to agree, but what is most important is that we as a body do what's in the best interest of the residents of Seaside, because that's ultimately what we're here for. So you might not agree, but you support.
Tell us about a time when you had to gather consensus in a group to solve a problem.
Oh, I feel like I've done that so many times. So one of the things that was probably the most challenging in my career, but also the most interesting, was some of the times that I spent in our emergency operations center. So I was the division chief for the information section of the emergency operations center on probably too many operations, but things like the pandemic and, we had a housing crisis. Every big sporting event that they held in Denver, we opened the EOC. We had a homelessness stint in the EOC. So I would say that is some of the most critical times where you need to gain consensus. And a very specific example is running the communications center and having to figure out how to get communications out about the pandemic and what to say and what not to say. And being a very sensitive topic. And I guess being the one in charge and ultimately having to make the decision, it was about listening a lot and listening to understand, not just hearing what the opinions were, but really being thoughtful about the opinions at the table. The mayor was even at the table when we were trying to formulate, I remember, our very first response. And, he set the example that he wanted to hear everybody's opinions and wanted to take different perspectives before we made a decision. So I would say that was probably the most critical consensus that I've experienced.
Thank you. And how do you plan to engage with community and ensure their voices are heard in council decisions?
Well, I'm super excited about that because this town has so much community spirit, and I love to be involved in things. And it feels like there's always something going on. So I think what it is you have to think about how do you meet the residents where they're at in a town like this, because there's so much diversity and there's so many things going on. So my philosophy would be, I would love to talk to you however you would love to talk to me. I would like to get opinions. I would like to participate in as many things as I possibly can, but then also be very open to somebody wants to meet for coffee and do a coffee with the counselor or coffee with the mayor. I know you guys do those kinds of things. So I think it is important to stay involved, stay engaged. I'm involved in some community groups here. I love to go to the parades and attend all the events and meet people and talk to people. So I think I would continue to do the things that I'm doing right now and just being very open to how the residents would like to engage and foster those relationships and communication.
How will you work with other city officials, departments, and community organizations to make progress on the council's goals?
There is a philosophy that I've had for a very long time is that no one can do it alone in this kind of environment. Government is hard. Government is typically always looking for more money. There's, you often say, if we had more money, we could do this. And it takes creativity, it takes collaboration, it takes partnership, it takes drawing on any resources that you have available sometimes in order to get things accomplished. So looking to the state, I mean, you guys just went through a really good example of where can we leverage the state for grant money. How can we work better with the county and some of their programs in order to enhance what Seaside wants to accomplish? Public-private partnerships were something that I focused on a lot in Denver, especially in the technology area. We focused on the digital divide for a period of time and how can we get free Wi-Fi out to kids in schools. And Denver couldn't even afford to do that. But how do we work with Comcast, was the provider at that point that we worked with, to do things that could, benefit the residents. And in this case, it benefited any kid that was in, middle to high school, to get them access to Wi-Fi for school. I would continue to be very involved with our partnering communities, with places like the Oregon League of Cities, with all of the relationships that the administrative staff has. I just think the thought of we would be silly not to leverage the resources that are already out there. And in addition, to not reinvent the wheel. What I think we could also find is that there are others who have done it this way, and there are others that have already learned lessons that we could benefit from. So, I would tap into as many resources as we could as a council to keep things moving.
Thank you.
That's it. You have up to 3 minutes now. Just give us your final words, final statement.
Well, I really appreciate the opportunity. I'll start with that. I have a lot of admiration for the job that you guys do, and I would love to be a part of it. I think Seaside is, when I was given a chance to retire and relocate, Seaside was the only choice for me. And so then to come here and find such a welcoming community and such wonderful people just has made it even a more heartwarming experience. Seaside is an amazing place to live, to work, and to visit. And I think what's important is continuing to find the balance for the residents so that people want to live here and raise families, and people want to have businesses here and work here and be able to work here, and that people want to continue to visit here and, bring their families here every summer, for vacation like I did as a kid. And so I'm really excited to try and continue to move those things forward.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
You can go get Robin. You guys are welcome to stay out here. Comments from the council. We, it'll be the five of us making a decision, and I'd like to hear, whatever you'd like to say about it. Just from my standpoint, this is a really hard decision simply because they're both so supremely qualified. Let's start with David.
We have two extremely qualified candidates. I think both would be a great asset on the council to fill the empty seat. I think we have kind of a choice between somebody who has a lot of experience in what we do and how we do it as a city in Robin versus an outside perspective from Christine that has experience, has a wider experience with her experience with Denver, seeing how a big organization and a big city works. And I've seen a lot of the benefits that have come from bringing Spencer from a similar situation of having that outside view to bring in and enhance the things that we're doing. And I'm excited for us to be able to make a decision tonight.
Seth?
So I ditto what David said in the sense that, we have two very qualified people, which makes an extremely hard decision. I've served with Robin on the Planning Commission in 2021, very competent leader, huge asset to the city. Robin and Bill, have done so much and highly respected. Christine served with her in the Budget Committee, very thoughtful, had a lot of really great input, stuff that I maybe wouldn't have thought about, which I found helpful from her previous job and career. To me, the decision really comes down to the family issue. And, our system is set up in a way where, we have 7 counselors all elected from different wards. And really what we're trying to do is spread out the power in a way where the public feels most represented. And the question to me, when you have, 2 people with the same last name that are related, it's hard for me, from a public's perspective, are there 7 independent voices up here when that's the case? And so I know that Robin has, the utmost integrity, and I have no doubt that she would operate with integrity. But for us as a council to make that decision, I think is different than if she was on the ballot elected by the public and the public looked and saw, hey, we have 2 Monteros here, they're related, but I think that that'll be okay. And they vote that way. That would be one thing. But for me personally, us as a council making that decision when we have a family dynamic, I'm just not comfortable with it. So that is really the deciding factor for me. And I think they would both be so great. And it's a hard decision, but that's really what's going to make my mind up in this.
Randy?
Well, I would agree that we have 2 really gifted and qualified people, and this is a very tough decision. And I see strengths on each one of them, and it's hard to find anything where I would say one would be a greater counselor than the other. However, just in feedback and the thought of nepotism and how people view this, I would have to agree that would tip the scales of how I think about this nomination.
Tom?
What a difficult decision. I agree with everything everybody has said. I'm not sure where I come down on it. I think it's all going to depend on whether I'm inhaling or exhaling. So one of these situations. But I hope that whoever doesn't get elected stays on in some capacity on some of the committees. or commissions.
Okay. This is probably one of the hardest decisions I think we've ever had to make here on the council. I've thought long and hard about it because I know both of the candidates fairly well. And, you know, they are both supremely qualified. You know, these questions down the line, both of them had very good answers to everything. So it makes it really hard. I guess, you know, as far as the idea and again, you know, a lot of what we've been talking about, if you want to call it nepotism or it's just the way things appear, is an issue that people deal with pretty often, and particularly in really small towns, because, you know, everybody is related usually to one another in some way or another. I'm, I guess, not as concerned about that. I think, you know, Robin and Tita are both very independent people and won't necessarily stand together on, you know, issues. They'll both think through what they want to decide. So, but other than that, it's just going to be a decision that we have to come up with together. I would like it to be unanimous if we can, but, you know, that's going to be a little hard perhaps with just 5 people. Any further comments?
I would comment that I don't have a problem. I don't feel like there's an issue of nepotism or anything like that. For me, really, with 2 very qualified people, I think I mentioned it that, you know, the thing that kind of leads my decision is the fact that being able to bring more outside insight to the decision making and a broader base rather than just, you know, the government we have here. And, you know, I would probably lean towards Christine because also wouldn't want to lose Robin on planning commission. She does a fantastic job there. So that's kind of, I would say that that's probably the direction that I'm leaning.
Well, we're going to decide by a roll call vote, and Kim has already had the order set earlier today. I had no say in that. So, Kim, will you please call the roll, and each counselor please submit their vote.
Okay. Council President Pazalski.
Christine Beneker.
Councilor Horning.
Robin Montero.
Councilor Frank.
Christine Beneker.
Councilor Morrissey.
Christine Beneker.
Mayor Wright.
My vote would be for Robin Montero. So the vote is 3 in favor of Christine Beneker, 2 for Robin Montero. Does the council wish to make it a consensus appointment? I would be willing to do so as one of the negative votes.
So would I.
Okay. Then it's a unanimous decision for Christine Beneker. Congratulations. And you may come forward. We're going to move immediately into a swearing-in ceremony. We prepared ahead of time. We need to immediately resign from the Budget Committee and the Airport Committee. We have a piece of paper for you to sign. Please put the date. I think the date's already on there, and put a time on there. Because you're going to get sworn in, and you can't be on another committee. Now you're going to be right back on budget, so, and perhaps you might end up as the council liaison to airport. Who knows? Robin, thank you very much. I know you aren't going away, so we still greatly appreciate everything you've done and will continue to do. Thank you very much. Please step forward to the microphone there, and our city recorder will swear you in.
You want her to face you, or is this okay?
No, she faces you. You're given the oath.
Raise your right hand. Okay, ready?
Ready.
And just repeat after me.
Okay.
I state your name.
I, Christine Binneker,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
and affirm that I support
and affirm that I support
the Constitution and laws of the United States
the Constitution and laws of the United States
and the state of Oregon
and the state of Oregon
and the charter,
and the charter,
ordinances,
ordinances,
and rules of procedures
and rules and procedures
for the city of Seaside,
for the city of Seaside,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
and honorably
and honorably
perform the duties
perform the duties
of the office
for
which I am about to assume. And that's it. Thank you.
Come take your seat. Okay, time for city comments. Comments from the city staff. Anybody back there? I see our some of the other staff.
Zach hasn't been up here for a while.
Yeah, Zach's really going to have it cut out for him here starting January.
Way to put me on the spot. Congratulations, welcome.
Thank you.
Excited for you.
Not just because she's from Denver and you're from Denver.
Oh.
We both bleed blue and orange. So I think, well, hopefully you guys won't be as excited as I am, but we have officially started the kickoff and the implementation for the new accounting system.
Oh, we're excited. We're excited. Yeah.
So timeline for that is, and I already gave the Cassell team a kudos if they could be the first implementation in history to be on time. But timeline is February, March, that time frame. So just in time for budget to start, and hopefully do that in a new system and work with something that's slightly more efficient than what we have. So with that, happy holidays to all of you. We're not having the other council meeting this month. Okay.
Nope.
So happy holidays, happy new year. We'll see you guys next year.
Thank you, Zach. Any other city staff back there want to come forward? Nope.
How about?
No? No. Okay. STDA or chamber, I think they were gone.
We lost them.
We lost them, yeah. John.
Big thing that I continue to talk about is hiring. We have pretty well filled wastewater now. We have some openings in the police department that I mentioned, officer position. We have a dispatcher position coming open, as well as trying to hire an administrative assistant with the police department as well. So, and working through the public works director. So we're continuing trying to get fully hired, and just wish all of you a happy holidays. Thanks.
Good job on the oath ceremony, Kim. Anything else?
I actually wasn't going to say anything, and I thought, well, this is actually the last meeting. So congratulations, Christine. Robin, great job interviewing, and just Merry Christmas to everybody.
Spencer.
Congratulations all around. We also have two other new counselors coming on board, and so message to them and to Christine is we'll be reaching out. We'll be putting together some Seaside Council orientation, some field trips, and try to get everyone as up to speed as we can so we hit the ground running in January. So I'll say Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, enjoy the few weeks because we'll be very busy come 2025.
A lot coming in January. So, Christine, would you like to say anything? Put you on the spot here.
Yeah, I would just like to say thank you. I'm honored and thrilled about this position. And Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I'm excited for January to get going. I have to just give a little shout out to my inspiration, who is my mom, who is at home watching, and just thank you, Mom, because I'm here because of you.
Tom.
I'm really impressed that this community has pulled together and that the city council and the staff have been able to attack all of the projects that we prioritized 2 years ago. And we've kind of done the last minute, if you count signatures or intention, but not the money necessarily. Yeah. But the fact that we were able to get into Watershed acquisition mode, it's really remarkable. That's because it's kind of not the normal shtick for a city council or a city, but it's becoming more as time passes. So I'm really glad to see that the staff have reached out and worked with available resources and groups to pull together the funding to buy the land. I'm just really knocks my socks off.
Well, I think I can say this for the council. You're a good portion of the reason why we have that attitude. From the very beginning, that's always been something you've championed. And so, we're sorry that you're leaving us in that sense, but I think your legacy will continue on in that area. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
Randy.
Well, after 12 years on the council, time has come to move on to another chapter, and I am honored to have served in this role. I'm a better person for it. There are some things I shall not miss, time commitment, but not to be said of staff or my fellow councilors, Chiefs Joy Daniels, Dave Ham. We've just got a great staff, Spencer, John, Kim, Randy, Anna, Wendy, and I might be leaving out a few, but I'm not going to name everybody on here. And I will say it was a storied past. I'm happy to have worked with Don Johnson, Stubby Lyons, Dana Phillips, previous mayors, Don Larson and Jay Barber. And I think when I look back, it's amazing what's been accomplished. I'm proud to have been a part of the team. Tremendous headway was made, and just a big thank you to fellow councilors and staff. Some ongoing projects I will be watching over very carefully, monitoring, weighing in on. Cartwright Park development, our city loop trail, the North 40 Park, North 40, it may be Pacifica, the Avenue V camp that is underway, thank goodness. And the future thought and hopefully construction of vertical evacuation sites. I think that's very important. And not that I want to steal any thunder, but this is my last opportunity. So I do have a quote I want to share, and it's sort of a goodwill as I take off to for the new council. And this quote is from George Washington. In a letter to the Hebrew congregation in Newport, 1790, may the Father of all mercies scatter light and not darkness on our paths, and make us all in our several vocations useful here, and in his own due time and way, everlastingly happy. There you go.
All right. Well, same, as far as your service, you've always been guidance to me. As 1 year younger old guy, but always thoughtful and measured, and I don't think I've ever seen you frustrated or or angry or anything like that. And I just greatly appreciate it. You've been a great example to me.
Thank you very much.
Seth.
I have a couple of very brief statements. I'll move quick because I know it's getting late. I've known Randy for most of my life, but our first official collaboration was on the Convention Center Commission. Later, I had the privilege of working alongside him on the City Council for 8 years. As a new counselor, I truly appreciated Randy's mentorship. He always took time to help me understand the complexities of the issues we faced. Randy's decades of service to our community, not just on the City Council, but also with the Downtown Development Association, Car Show, and more, are a testament to his love for Seaside. I'm personally grateful for his support and guidance over the years. And Randy, on behalf of myself and the entire community, I hope you enjoy a well-deserved retirement.
Thank you.
And I have a quick one for Tom as well. When it comes to tsunami preparedness, no one is more dedicated than Tom Horning. I had the privilege of taking a seaside geology tour with Tom and delving into the fascinating geological history of our area. Tom showed me the details of how our city's unique topography was shaped through earthquakes, tsunamis, and including Tillamook Head, the Cove area, the rivers. Tom has shown us the importance of being prepared, and I hope we can carry on his legacy by continuing to pursue vertical evacuation structures and potentially retrofitting our bridges. Thanks again, Tom, for all your hard work over the years and for both tsunami preparedness and the environment, and best of luck in the future. And congratulations to Christine, and Merry Christmas.
Okay, well, welcome, Christine. Thank you. And farewell to Tom and Randy. I have enjoyed many conversations with you. You've both been thoughtful in the give and take of conversations and ideas, and I feel like you've heard me. I hope you've felt like I heard you. I will miss that from both of you. So it won't be quite the same, but I've enjoyed working with both of you. Thank you to the staff for cute little, and I hope everyone enjoys a wonderful holiday time.
Yeah, you reminded me about the geologic tour that Tom gave. That was tremendous. I learned so many things, like why there's a bend in the river right at my house, and why there's rocks there and you can walk across at low tide. It's because that's where the 1700 tsunami came through. So amazing.
I want to get David first.
David.
Thank you. Congratulations, Christine. Welcome aboard. Look forward to working with you. I've had an amazing time working with Tom and Randy. I've known Randy for a long time, long before I was on council, and appreciate all the times he and I run into each other at the post office, and I know that will probably continue. And Tom has just been a great voice for all the topics that I never think of. The things like watersheds and tsunami preparedness and those types of things are just things that I would have never thought of as priorities without his guidance. And so I thank you, gentlemen. We are planning again this year to do a menorah lighting. Hanukkah starts late. It doesn't start until the evening of Christmas and runs into New Year's. And we will have a schedule figured out this week and be able to publish that for people to come and share in the menorah lighting. I appreciate everybody dealing with my technical issues today as I try and get back home. I woke up this morning in Iceland, and so just trying to get home. So you guys have a great night. Thank you.
Well, thank you for delaying your trip home in order to be with us. Following up on the Community Center Commission, it's been very active. I'm currently the liaison to it. In particular, they served over 300 Thanksgiving meals A lot of people volunteered to help in that, and that was great. They are working on their mission vision statement, and they look forward to meeting with the council next year. There's been a lot of events that have happened here during the holiday season. Attended a special event that Consejo Español put on. They're going to give gifts to almost 300 kids that probably wouldn't have had much for Christmas. And it was just an amazing thing. The Park District basically put on the Thanksgiving meal. That was great. American Legion, we had the Pearl Harbor Remembrance. As far as I can tell, there's only 2 cities in Oregon that do that, and we're one of them. Festival of the Trees, Saturday night, raised over, I don't know what the final number was, but I believe it was over $300,000 for improvement to the cancer treatment facilities here at Providence Seaside. And, a tremendous event and a great group to raise that money. Some of us took elected essentials, sometimes some of us for the multiple times, and we always learn something new, right, Tita?
We do.
Yeah,
we do.
It's just amazing. Chamber has, the tree lighting and light tour, and SDDA has their starfish hunt, and there's a gingerbread contest going on. Make sure you take part in all of those. I also want to give a personal thank you to Clatsop County Commissioner John Toyuka, who's also retiring after 4 years. His district does include part of kind of the northern part of Seaside, and I've had occasion to work with him quite often over his 4 years in office. He impressed me as a selfless, honorable man, veteran, thoughtful, and concerned with what's best for our county. So thank you, John, if you ever hear this. Counselors, thank you for your service to our city over these past 12 months. Randy and Tom, thank you again, and please know that we will miss you. Welcome, Christine, along with Seamus and Heidi, who will join us on January 14th to continue our work for the City of Seaside. My quote to finish off in this last meeting of 2024, although I don't think it's as good as yours, looks forward to a new year of change at kind of all levels, federal, state, and here locally. I trust we'll all follow these words. They come from a Canadian leader. His name was Jack Layton. Love is better than anger. Hope is better than fear. And optimism is better than despair. So let us be loving, hopeful, and optimistic. Wish you all a blessed Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. We are adjourned.